Chapter 1093. The red-robed old man was the current ancestor of the Luo Tianzhan family, Li Yunzi. When Li Yunzi heard this, his eyes shined brightly. He coldly looked at the beautiful woman and calmly said, "The old man is Li Yunzi." The beautiful woman smiled and took a sip of the tea. She put it down and smiled. Senior Li Yunzi is very famous in the Luo Tian star system. You are here to represent the Luo Tian star system to congratulate the Rosefinch Divine Emperor. It looks like the Luo Tian star system has good intentions toward the Rosefinch Divine Emperor. You are a core disciple of Serene and have reached the Nirvana cleanser stage at such a young age. Rumor has it that you have 4 corpse puppets, and 3 of them have spells no weaker than Nirvana Shatterer cultivators. For Serene to send you here shows how much importance he places on the Rosefinch Divine Sect. Li Yunzi's voice was still calm, but when his words landed in the beautiful woman's ears, it caused her eyes to flash an undetectable amount. "Fellow cultivator must be from the Alliance. I just don't know your name." The beautiful woman's words changed, and she looked at the bald man. The bald man calmly said, "Country of Chu Yun, Emoji." Emoji. The beautiful woman frowned. It was obvious she had never heard of this name before. However, Li Yunzi's eyes suddenly narrowed, and he turned to look at the bald man. After taking a closer look, he slowly said, "So, you are Emoji." The bald man faintly smiled as he clasped his hands at Li Yunzi and said, "Emoji greets Senior." The beautiful woman pondered a bit and asked, "Fellow cultivator Emo, Senior Li Yunzi, do you know the origin of the new Divine Emperor in the Rosefinch Divine Sect?" The old man only knows that this person is very arrogant. None of the people who came to congratulate him saw his face, and the 4 Divine Sect didn't mention his name. He is very mysterious. Li Yunzi picked up the teacup, took a look, and then put it down. He was ordered by the Thunder Celestial Temple to come to the Rosefinch Divine Sect. Aside from congratulating them, he also had a deeper purpose, which was to directly contact the new Divine King. This matter was of great importance. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been asked to come here personally. I do have some news. 3 years ago, during the battle at Immortal Emperor Rosefinch's cave abode, it was said that Rosefinch took away a person from the holy sect. The beautiful woman said softly. Li Yunzi let out a cold snort. He naturally knew about this matter and knew who this person was. The Luo Tian had also researched this matter. Although Master Flamespark thought it was very likely, in the end, no one agreed and ruled out the possibility that this person was the new Divine Emperor. After all, this matter was simply too unbelievable. He doesn't have the qualifications to become the Divine Emperor. There was a flash of disdain in Li Yunzi's eyes. If it wasn't for this person bringing up Shimizu, he would have already been captured and refined into a puppet to help him break through the mysteries of the battle scroll. If someone said that Wang Lin was the new Divine Emperor, Li Yunzi wouldn't believe it no matter what. Thinking about Shimizu, Li Yunzi felt very comfortable. Shimizu's disappearance was within his expectations. He even knew that the upheaval at the Alliance headquarters was directly related to Shimizu. He personally came to the Rosefinch Holy Sect because of the mission the Luo Tian had given him. He also wanted to use the Luo Tian as an excuse to take away Wang Lin from the Rosefinch Holy Sect. In his opinion, there must have been a reason why the Rosefinch Holy Sect took away Wang Lin. 3 years of time was enough for the Rosefinch Holy Sect to obtain enough value from Wang Lin. Right now, Wang Lin wasn't of much value to the Rosefinch Holy Sect, so it shouldn't be difficult to take him away. Oh, rumor has it that this person killed Master Void with 1 spell and injured 2 of Tian Yunzi's avatars. Why does Senior Li Yunzi think this person isn't qualified? The beautiful woman looked at Li Yunzi and softly asked. Back then, the Rosefinch Holy Sect mobilized a large force and even had the true spirit of the Rosefinch Holy Sect lead the way. Li Yunzi calmly said, "Before this person went to Qing Lin's cave, he met the old man and separated." The old man clearly knew his cultivation level. Li Yunzi calmly said, he didn't believe that Wang Lin had changed so much. From his point of view, this was just a rumor. The beautiful woman frowned. Their corpse sect had gathered all the clues and believed that Wang Lin, who had become famous in Celestial Emperor Qinglin's cave, was the new vermilion bird divine emperor. However, Li Yunzi's words made her doubt it. This Wang Lin was once the Luo Tian's Thunder Celestial. If even the Luo Tian side thinks he can't be the new divine emperor, the beautiful woman silently pondered and no longer spoke. Mo Ji suddenly said, "Is the person you guys are talking about Wang Lin?" Just at this moment, Li Yunzi suddenly raised his head and stared outside the palace with a strange expression. After him, Mo Ji also raised his head and looked outside the palace. The last one was the bewitching woman. At the instant all three of their gazes were gathered outside the hall, a scorching presence suddenly surged in from outside. It immediately drew in the fire origin chi of the world in the hall and formed an invisible whirlpool that swept outwards. At this moment, the fire origin energy inside the palace seemed to gain intelligence and began to cheer. It scattered in all directions as if it was worshipping something. Under the gazes of the three of them, a person slowly walked into the hall. This person was wearing a scarlet-red armor that covered his face, leaving only his white hair exposed. Behind him, there was a white cloak that contrasted with the white vermilion bird totem on the armor, giving off an oppressive aura. Amidst the cracking sounds, the armored man gradually walked into the hall. He didn't even look at the three of them and directly walked forward. His white hair fluttered in the wind, setting off waves of unimaginable heat that instantly filled the hall. All the fire elemental energy in the surroundings began to boil and swirl around the armored man, forming a vortex of fire. At this moment, the entire hall was suddenly filled with a dense pressure. It wasn't just the fire elemental energy in the hall that was changing. Instead, all the fire elemental energy in the world, on the planet, and in the star region seemed to be gathering crazily around his body with him as the center. As a result, as the origin energy changed, the pressure of the heavens spread out. More cultivators walked in behind the armored person. There was a total of 4 people, and all 4 of them were old men at the Nirvana Shatterer stage. They all wore red robes, but their robes were different from Lai Kongzi's. The 4 of them followed the armored person into the palace. They stood beside the armored person and calmly looked at the 3 of them. The armored person walked to the front, raised his cloak, and sat down. His firelight gaze came out from the armor and landed on the 3 of them. At this moment, his body was filled with majesty, and after the origin energy surrounded him, it blocked all divine senses from probing him. Even if divine senses could penetrate the origin energy around him, with a rosefinch divine sect cloak, very few people would be able to see through Wang Lin's appearance. Silence filled the entire hall. The appearance of the armored man was too shocking. He had actually stirred up the fire elemental energy of the heavens and earth. At this moment, beads of perspiration appeared on the forehead of the alluring woman. Sitting here, she felt as though she was in a furnace of the heavens and earth. In the past, with her cultivation base, she could completely ignore this. But now, with the appearance of the armored man, the entire hall had become the center of the fire elemental energy of the heavens and earth. Even with her cultivation base, she was unable to endure it. Junior Serene Li Yingji greets Divine Emperor Rosefinch. The beautiful woman withdrew all the contempt in her heart and stood up under this pressure. Her expression was respectful, as if she was meeting an elder of her sect. What exactly is this Rosefinch Divine Emperor's cultivation level to be able to produce such pressure? The beautiful woman was shocked. Mo Ji looked at the armored person and his eyes revealed a strange light, but he wasn't sure. At this moment, he also stood up under this pressure and respectfully clasped his hands. Country of Chu Yun's Mo Ji greets Divine Emperor Rosefinch. The armored person's gaze swept by and paused on Mo Ji for a moment before landing on Li Yunzi. Li Yunzi took a deep breath, stood up, and calmly clasped his hands. Old man, Luo Tianzhan family's Li Yunzi, on behalf of the Luo Tian Thunder Celestial Temple, congratulates Your Excellency on becoming the Rosefinch Divine Emperor. The armored person's gaze lingered on Li Yunzi the most. There was even a faint smile on his face, but it was unknown if this smile was cold or kind. Li Yunzi's heart skipped a beat. For some reason, he felt a hint of uneasiness under the gaze of the new divine emperor. In particular, the four Nirvana Shatterer elders beside the divine emperor also looked at him. Li Yunzi, the armored man, slowly said. His voice came from the armor, and it was slightly different. When it passed through the fire origin energy vortex, it became ethereal. The uneasiness in Li Yunzi's heart became even stronger. He looked at the new divine emperor, took a step back, and said, "Does the divine emperor know me?" The armored person stared at Li Yunzi for a moment before withdrawing his gaze and looking at Emoji. Emoji suppressed the suspicion in his heart and clasped his hands. "Divine Emperor, I represent the country of Chu Yun to congratulate the Rosefinch Divine Sect on the birth of a new emperor. I'll come to give you a congratulatory gift." As he spoke, his right hand reached at the void and a crack appeared before him. However, this crack wasn't stable. It was obvious that it was being disturbed by the origin energy inside the hall. Seeing that the crack was about to collapse the moment it appeared, the armored person raised his right hand. The fire origin energy outside the crack scattered, and the crack immediately stabilized. This scene caused the pupils of the beautiful woman to shrink. Even Li Yunzi's eyes narrowed. Emoji remained calm and collected. He took out the prepared gifts, pills, and immortal treasures from the rift and placed them in front of him one by one. The Free Vermilion Bird Holy Sect members walked into the hall and stood to the side. The last thing Emoji took out was a small blue and green flag. The moment the flag was taken out, a chilling aura instantly filled the surroundings, causing even the fire origin energy in the surroundings to freeze. The armored person's eyes narrowed as he stared at the small flag. His eyes revealed a strange light. "This is something Teacher specifically told me to give to the Divine Emperor. It is a soul that Teacher refined and sealed hundreds of years ago." Wang Lin's right hand reached at the void and grabbed the small flag. After carefully looking at it, he looked at Emoji and said, "Many thanks." After Emoji heard the word, "Many thanks," his eyes shined brightly. He looked meaningfully at Wang Lin and didn't speak anymore. Li Yunzi represented the Luo Tian Thunder Celestial Temple and also brought a congratulatory gift. Although it was valuable, it wasn't something that moved Wang Lin. After sending out the congratulatory gift, Li Yunzi's eyes lit up and he said, "Divine Emperor, aside from official business, the old man came here on behalf of the Thunder Celestial Temple for a private matter." Seeing the new Divine Emperor's gaze fall on him, Li Yunzi pondered a bit and said, 3 years ago, the Rosefinch Divine Sect took away a person named Wang Lin from the Qing Lin Celestial Temple. If the Rosefinch Divine Sect has no use for this person, can you let the old man take him away? As soon as these words were spoken, the 4 old men by the armored man's side were stunned, and they looked at Lai Kongzi in unison. The armored person looked at Li Yunzi and slowly said, "You want Wang Lin?" Chapter 1094. The uneasiness in Li Yunzi's heart became even stronger. He vaguely felt that the new divine emperor's voice was a bit hostile. In particular, the gazes of the 4 Nirvana Shatterer old men beside the new divine emperor caused his expression to change. The armored man looked at Li Yunzi and gradually began to laugh. His laughter became louder and louder, and as he laughed, the fire origin energy in the hall began to rapidly circulate. It affected all the origin energy in the hall, and there were arcs of lightning moving inside, creating popping sounds. Li Yunzi's mind trembled as he stood up and retreated a few steps. He stared at the armored man and said, "Divine Emperor, what do you mean? If that Wang Lin..." Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted. The armored man slowly said, "That Wang Lin is said to be your Luo Tian's Thunder Celestial. Do you want him, or does the Thunder Celestial Temple want him?" Li Yunzi frowned and said, "Although this person is my Luo Tian's Thunder Celestial, he has long been stripped of his qualifications." This time, Li Yunzi looked at the armored man and said, "Although it is the old man who wants this person, It is also the Thunder Celestial Temple's intention. The armored man looked at Li Yunzi. The smile on his face caused the armor to tremble, and he slowly said, "Oh, I wonder what grudge this Wang Lin has with you and the Luo Tian." The uneasiness in Li Yunzi's heart became even stronger. After pondering a bit, he said, "This person has many grudges with my Luo Tian's Thunder Celestial Temple, so it's not good to talk about them one by one. However, this person took a treasure from my Zhan family, so the old man naturally has to get it back. So that's how it is. That's why you want this Wang Lin. That makes sense." The armored man nodded. The expressions of the four old men became even more strange, but they didn't speak. Li Yunzi let out a sigh of relief and clasped his hands. "I hope the Divine Emperor will agree. After all, my Luo Tian and the Four Divine Sect have a common enemy, the Cultivation Alliance." Although he was a domineering person, he did not dare to offend the Four Divine Sect. After all, even though the Four Divine Sect had declined, its foundation was so deep that even Luo Tian had to be wary of it. "However, you said that Wang Lin took your Zhan family's treasure. How come I know about this?" The armored man's sudden words startled Li Yunzi. However, before he could react, the armored man had already stood up. He lifted his right hand and swept it across the armor on his face. A dark voice swiftly traveled forth. "You want Wang Lin? Li Yunzi, look clearly at who I am." In an instant, the armor covering this person's face dissipated, turning into ripples that spread out in all directions. Within the ripples was Wang Lin. "You, Wang Lin." Even with Li Yunzi's mental fortitude, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. His eyes were filled with extreme shock, and he subconsciously took a few steps back in disbelief. "Impossible! How can you be the Rosefinch Divine Emperor? This is impossible." Li Yunzi's breathing became rough, and his pupils shrank. He simply couldn't accept this fact. In his eyes, Wang Lin was just an ant, a bug he could crush at will. The strong contrast was beyond Li Yunzi's imagination. He stared dumbfoundedly at Wang Lin. His eyes were filled with disbelief, but even more so, terror and shock. "You dare? Even if you represent the Luo Tian Thunder Celestial Temple, you don't have the qualifications to judge my Rosefinch Divine Emperor." One of the four elders beside Wang Lin took a step forward and gloomily said. With his step, the aura of a Nirvana Shatterer, Cultivator, rushed out. It turned into an invisible shockwave that shot toward Li Yunzi. Li Yunzi was already in shock, and now that the Nirvana Shatterer aura closed in, he coughed out a mouthful of blood and retreated a few more steps. His face was pale, but he had to accept this fact that he couldn't even dream of. "You, Li Yunzi, did you represent the Luo Tian Thunder Celestial Temple to congratulate Wang on becoming the Divine Emperor? Or did you come here just to humiliate Wang? You dare to demand this Divine Emperor for my Rosefinch Divine Sect? This matter is simply too absurd." Wang Lin's expression was gloomy, and his voice was like the cold wind of hell. "Isn't this the same as Wang sending people to your Luo Tian Thunder Celestial Temple to demand Master Flamespark? Li Yunzi, if you don't give a satisfactory explanation, then you won't be able to leave the Rosefinch Divine Sect. Tomorrow, your Luo Tian Thunder Celestial Temple will pay the price." This matter was not framed by this emperor, and fellow cultivator Emoji of the Chu Yun sect can testify. Wang Lin didn't give Li Yunzi any chance at all and immediately attacked with the power of thunder. Li Yunzi's mind was still in shock, and when he heard this, he coughed out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale, and just as he was about to speak, Emoji spoke. "I can testify that it was Li Yunzi who was unreasonable first. He wanted to demand the Divine Emperor from the Rosefinch Divine Sect. My words can represent the country of the Chu Yun sect." The beautiful eyes of the serene woman lit up, and she smiled. "Since this little girl participated in this matter, I can also testify that this senior Li Yunzi is simply absurd." Li Yunzi didn't catch his breath. When he heard the words of Emoji and the serene woman, he coughed out another mouthful of blood. He suddenly raised his head and stared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin revealed a sneer and sat down once more. He raised his right hand as if he was observing his own fingerprints and completely ignored Li Yunzi. This was the Rosefinch Divine Sect, so Li Yunzi couldn't escape his grasp. Originally, if this person hadn't made such an absurd request, Wang Lin wouldn't have taught him a lesson like this, but now it was different. Not only him, but the four old men beside him also stared at Li Yunzi with cold gazes. The surroundings were completely silent. Emoji occasionally looked at Wang Lin, and his eyes were filled with melancholy. He didn't think that the old friend his teacher talked about would be Wang Lin. Thinking back to when he first met Shizuku, it was in the temple on a rainy night. At that time, Shizuku had just obtained his domain and was in the soul formation stage. Although they had just met, that rainy night had made Emoji remember Wang Lin. The beautiful serene woman also didn't speak. She looked at Li Yunzi with a smile that wasn't a smile, as if she was watching a show. Amidst the silence, sweat gradually appeared on Li Yunzi's forehead. He knew very well that with his cultivation level, it was impossible for him to escape the Four Divine Sect. Moreover, this Wang Lin was too vicious to even bring up the Luo Tian Thunder Celestial Temple. As a result, this was no longer just a matter of him, but the entire Luo Tian Thunder Celestial Temple insulting the Rosefinch Divine Sect's Divine Emperor. This kind of thing was the complete opposite of the Luo Tian's original intention. This matter is the old man's reckless, but this is a private matter and has nothing to do with me, the Luo Tian. After a long time, Li Yunzi had a bitter expression. Although he was extremely unwilling, he had to clasp his hands at Wang Lin. The anger in his heart was enough to burn the world, and the feeling of humiliation continued to devour his mind. Back then, this Wang Lin had to be respectful to him and had to look at his eyes. Otherwise, he would have killed this person at any time. Even though this was the last time they met, this Wang Lin had to be careful. He had immediately come to check the battle painting for him. This Wang Lin didn't dare to not come. Li Yunzi knew this very well. In his eyes, this person was destined to be suppressed by him and had to constantly check the battle painting for him. If it wasn't for Shimizu, this Wang Lin would have already become his puppet. However, right now Li Yunzi had to lower his head in humiliation and explain what he had said. How could he bear this? However, if he didn't bear it, he would without a doubt die in the Rosefinch Divine Sect, insulting the Divine Emperor. Just these 3 words were enough to make it impossible for him to leave the Four Divine Sect. Wang Lin acted as if he didn't hear Li Yunzi's words at all and continued to observe his right hand. The veins on Li Yunzi's face swelled up as he suppressed the anger in his heart. The existence of the 4 Nirvana Shatterer Elders beside Wang Lin made his mind tremble. After pondering for a moment, he forced out a hint of respect and clasped his hands. I hope the Divine Emperor will forgive this old man for being ignorant. This old man was indeed reckless and had no intention of insulting you. Reckless? Wang asked you before if this was your idea or the Luo Tian's. I still remember your answer. I wonder what Wang was implicated in the Luo Tian's Thunder Celestial Temple? Wang Lin looked at his right hand and slowly said, "You." Li Yunzi raised his head and suppressed the anger that was about to erupt. At this moment, he didn't dare to be angry. If it wasn't for Serene and Emoji, he could have fought to the death. Although he would without a doubt die. If he died for the Luo Tian would definitely get revenge for him. However, the other side was holding on to what had just happened, and there were witnesses. As a result, even the Luo Tian didn't want to start a war with the Four Divine Sect and the Cultivation Alliance because of his absurdity. At this moment, when Wang Lin looked at him, his gaze was extremely gloomy. Li Yunzi believed that if he couldn't suppress his anger, he would immediately be beheaded here. Divine Emperor, this matter, I was wrong. Li Yunzi clenched his fist and his body trembled. He had never experienced anything like this in his entire life of cultivation. I want all of your Zhan family's battle scrolls. Let this matter rest for me. I'll give you half an incense stick of time to consider. Wang Lin lowered his right hand as he stared at Li Yunzi and said, word for word. After he finished speaking, he waved his right hand and some of the fire origin energy condensed into a corporeal incense stick that floated in the air. As the incense stick burned, time slowly passed. Li Yunzi struggled in his heart, seeing that the incense stick was about to burn out and that half an incense stick of time was about to pass. An invisible pressure surrounded Li Yunzi. The bitterness on his face became even stronger, and he nodded. His right hand made a grabbing motion, and a crack appeared before him. 3 scrolls flew out from within, and a dense battle, intense, spread out from the 3 scrolls, enveloping the surroundings. I've been writing very slowly lately, and the next chapter is being written. Everyone, please wait patiently. Chapter 1095. Battle Scrolls. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and his right hand reached at the void. The 3 scrolls quickly flew into his hand, and he scanned them with his divine sense. With his familiarity with the battle scrolls, he was able to tell if they were real or fake. You have already taken the battle scrolls. Can the old man leave? Li Yunzi looked at Wang Lin. Personally, giving away the Zhan family's treasure was something he couldn't accept. However, if he didn't hand it over, Wang Lin would get it anyway. So he had no choice. If it was someone else, even if he offended the Divine Emperor, he was confident that the other party wouldn't dare to kill him. At most, they would just imprison him. After all, behind him was the Luo Tian, and in the Alliance star system, the Luo Tian's mysteriousness would add some weight to him. After all, there were simply too few people who truly understood the Luo Tian. It was just like how the Luo Tian didn't understand the Alliance. However, Wang Lin was too familiar with the Luo Tian, and he was once a Thunder Celestial. In Wang Lin's eyes, the Luo Tian's mysteriousness was greatly reduced. This was only secondary. The most important thing was that with Li Yunzi's understanding of Wang Lin, he knew that Wang Lin was ruthless, bold, and decisive. If this kind of person really wanted to kill him, he wouldn't imprison him to give him a chance to fight back. Instead, he would decisively attack, and there would be no way for Li Yunzi to survive. As a result, he had no choice but to yield. Although his heart was bleeding, he had a hand over the battle scrolls. After putting away the battle scrolls, Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he slowly said, "I can forget about you insulting my identity as the Divine Emperor, but right now, Wang, as a private matter, I want to ask Senior Li Yunzi." Li Yunzi's heart skipped a beat. He stared at Wang Lin and clenched his teeth. "You have already taken the battle scrolls, and the old man has paid the price for what happened before. What more do you want?" Wang Lin's expression was neutral, and he calmly said, "You said that I took the Zhan family's treasure. Could it be that you can predict the future? You have to give me an explanation for this matter." Wang Lin stared at Li Yunzi. He wanted to kill this person, but if he died, it would cause the 4 divine sect to become enemies with the Luo Tian. In this way, it would not be in line with Wang Lin's plan to deal with Tua Senator. More importantly, if the 4 sacred sect became enemies with Luo Tian, the ones who would benefit would be Serene and the Alliance. Shimizu was likely in the Alliance, and there was also the old Divine Emperor's favor. All of these things made it so that Wang Lin couldn't kill Li Yunzi for now. Li Yunzi suppressed his anger once more and said, "What else do you want?" 10 Luo Fu. Wang Lin said slowly. "You." Popping sounds came from inside Li Yunzi's body. He was obviously angry to the extreme. His body trembled, and he suppressed it several times before he was able to suppress it. He calmed down and let out a deep breath. "After giving it to you last time, I only have 6 Luo Fu left. The old man doesn't have any more. This is the limit of what the old man can bear." Li Yunzi clenched his teeth. Wang Lin faintly smiled and nodded. 6 is fine. Also, you have to give me the jade to control the puppet." Li Yunzi closed his eyes, and his right hand reached to the void. 6 balls of Lu Fu that gave off powerful blood aura flew out along with the jade. Wang Lin waved his sleeves and put the 6 Luo Fu into his bag of holding. He grabbed the jade and looked at it before putting it away as well. "Old man, goodbye." Li Yunzi turned around to leave. He couldn't stay at the Rosefinch Divine sect any longer. "Li Yunzi, wait. Wang has something to give to Senior Master Flamespark." Wang Lin waved his right hand, and a jade flew into Li Yunzi's hand. Li Yunzi frowned and scanned the jade with his divine sense. His expression changed greatly, and he suddenly looked up. His eyes shined brightly. This matter, if Senior Flamespark is interested, you can come to the Rosefinch Divine Sect to find me. Wang Lin faintly smiled and no longer spoke. Li Yunzi carefully put away the jade and looked at Wang Lin. He found it more and more difficult to see through the person before him. He let out a sigh and quickly left. My Zhan family's ancestral item can't fall into the hands of an outsider. Wang Lin, sooner or later, the old man will take it back. If I don't kill you, then the old man isn't Wang Lin. Li Yunzi charged out of the cultivation planet and quickly flew through the star domain. However, this Wang Lin's jade is a shocking matter. I need to send it to Master Flamespark as soon as possible. If this matter is true, then it is simply too shocking. Li Yunzi made up his mind and moved even faster. Every second he spent in the Four Divine Sect made him feel extremely humiliated. His right hand reached at the void and grabbed something from the rift before him. It was a black stone, and when Li Yunzi rubbed it, it turned into powder. The powder didn't dissipate, but quickly condensed into a long line around Li Yunzi's body. In an instant, Li Yunzi's speed increased several-fold, and he disappeared without a trace. Several days later, Li Yunzi moved extremely fast and finally left the territory of the Four Divine Sect in the eastern part of the Alliance star system. He charged toward the northern part of the Alliance, controlled by all heaven. However, on the second day after he entered the northern region, there was a flash of cold light in the distance. This light was very fast, and it shot toward Li Yunzi like a thunderous rumble. Li Yunzi's expression changed greatly, and he was about to dodge. However, with his cultivation level, he couldn't escape this cold light at all. In almost an instant, the cold light closed in and pierced through Li Yunzi's chest. Li Yunzi didn't even have time to use spells or treasures. Li Yunzi coughed out blood, and his body immediately collapsed. His origin soul was filled with shock and horror as he quickly escaped. Seeing the cold light closing in once more, Li Yunzi panicked and his right hand reached at the void. A 100-foot wide ball of blood appeared before him. It was the Lu Fu ball of blood. The moment the ball appeared, Li Yunzi immediately shouted, "Explode!" The ball suddenly exploded and turned into a shockwave that collided with the incoming cold light. Opportunity. Li Yunzi didn't hesitate to waste his origin energy to escape. However, inside his origin soul, there was a red line with his chest as the center that quickly spread out. Li Yunzi unconsciously revealed a smile that wasn't a smile, but there was fear in his eyes. Poison. This is Serene's desire for death poison. With how powerful the Luo Tian was, they must have investigated a lot of Serene's attacks. As a powerful cultivator of the Luo Tian, Li Yunzi naturally recognized that he had been poisoned by Serene's poison. Li Yunzi was scared out of his wits, so he desperately escaped. It wasn't until Li Yunzi was far away that the figure of a man appeared among the stars. He wore blue and was very handsome. He looked at where Li Yunzi escaped, shook his head, and left. Using the poison extracted from Situ, Nan to sneak attack a junior. This matter. Forget it. After all, the two of us owe Wang Lin too much. The man let out a sigh and disappeared among the stars. The matter with Li Yunzi came to an end. After he left, the beautiful woman from the Serene sect sent out a congratulatory gift and expressed her desire to form an alliance with the Four Divine Sect. She was about to leave, but Wang Lin asked her to stay to participate in the coronation ceremony in a few days. Just as the Serene woman was about to leave, Wang Lin suddenly asked, "Fellow cultivator Li, Serene has always been with corpses, so he must have his own ranking of all the corpses in the world. I wonder what is the best body in the world." The beautiful woman's eyes lit up. She was very interested in the new divine emperor, especially when he threatened Li Yunzi. This made her gaze toward Wang Lin change greatly. As if tempting him, the woman pursed her lips and lightly smiled. Since the Heavenly Emperor has asked, this little girl will definitely answer in detail. If you want to talk about corpses in this world, the number 1 would naturally be the reverse 5 elements extreme corpse. After saying that, a flirtatious smile appeared on her face as she began to explain. This extraordinary 5 elements reversal corpse isn't a real corpse. It was born from the world in a special environment. Its body contains the 5 elements of the world, and it also has the 5 elements outside of its body. As a result, it creates a strange change in the rules. Wang Lin nodded after hearing this. So that's how it is. Wang thought that the corpse I obtained recently was the real #1 corpse in the world. I originally wanted fellow cultivator Li to appraise it for me, but let's forget about it. The beautiful woman's eyes lit up, and she smiled. Oh, I wonder what kind of corpse the Divine Emperor has such confidence in. Wang Lin didn't waste any time. He waved his sleeve and threw a jade at the beautiful woman. The woman caught the jade with a smile and didn't care too much. In her opinion, no matter how rare the corpse Wang Lin had found, there would be some in her serene. Even the rare 5-elemental reversal corpse would have some in her serene. What's more, the fact that the 5-elemental reversal corpse was ranked #1 was just a rumor. Just among the serene storage, there were 7 corpses that were stronger than the 5-elemental reversal corpse. She casually scanned the jade slip with her divine sense. But in an instant, the woman's right hand that held the jade slip trembled, and her expression instantly became serious. However, this seriousness immediately collapsed and was replaced by shock and horror. Her right hand almost lost its balance, and she gripped the jade slip tightly. A strange flush appeared on her face, and even her breathing quickened. She took a few steps back and did not recover for a long time. It wasn't that she didn't have enough willpower, it was just that no matter how much willpower she had, it was useless. Not to mention her, any serene person, or even the serene sect leader, would go crazy if they saw this jade. This. She suddenly raised her head and stared at Wang Lin. She couldn't even form a coherent sentence. The excitement and shock in her heart couldn't be described with words. It was as if countless bolts of lightning had exploded in her heart. Wang Lin's expression didn't change as he accepted the tea from the people beside him. He placed it in front of him and took a sip before looking at the beautiful woman. I wonder what the ranking of this corpse is. The contents of the recent chapters were quite important, and he needed to think carefully before writing. That's why he didn't explode. However, there's no need to worry. The explosion is not far away. Chapter 1096. The beautiful woman pondered for a bit before she suppressed the shock in her heart and slowly said, This corpse is only formed by the Divine Emperor's divine sense. I haven't seen the real corpse, so it's hard for me to make a decision. However, the corpse she had seen in the jade continued to appear in her mind, and her heart pounded. Oh! Wang Lin looked at the woman, blew away the steam from the tea, and calmly said, If that's the case, then forget it. Wang didn't have much hope in this corpse, so knowing it or not doesn't matter. The beautiful woman's expression changed, and she immediately said, I wonder if the jade the Divine Emperor gave Li Yunzi was also the same? That is correct. Wang Lin took a sip of tea and was very casual. The beautiful woman pondered for a long time before she looked up at Wang Lin. There was a hint of respect in her eyes, and she said, I can't make a decision on this matter. I asked the Divine Emperor to give me 7 days. I'll definitely give the Divine Emperor an answer within 7 days. Wang Lin faintly smiled as he put down the teacup and smiled. Fellow cultivator Li, there is no need to be anxious. This corpse was accidentally found by Wang, but I couldn't get it back, so I asked fellow cultivator Li to help me identify it. The beautiful woman was very cunning, and now that she had calmed down a bit, she naturally saw that the jade Wang Lin had given her was not simple. There must be a deeper meaning behind it. Moreover, Wang Lin had obviously prepared this jade beforehand. He had given it to Li Yunzi before giving it to her. After pondering a bit, she cautiously said, I'm afraid I won't be able to attend the Divine Emperor's coronation. This little girl will take her leave first. Wang Lin didn't try to keep her. He allowed Li Yingji to leave the palace and quickly left. After withdrawing his gaze from where the beautiful woman disappeared, Wang Lin's expression was calm. He had already cast the bait, so it was up to Luo, Tian, and Serene to see if they would be tempted. They will definitely be tempted. Wang Lin turned to look at Mo Ji, and a smile gradually appeared on his face. He stood up, and his armor, and cloak immediately disappeared. At this moment, Wang Lin was wearing a white robe. He cupped his hands towards Emoji and smiled. "Brother Emo, it has been a long time since we last met. You are still as elegant as ever." Emoji cupped his fists and smiled. "I'm afraid it has been 1,000 years since we last met." Wang Lin's eyes were also filled with nostalgia. He sighed and said, "Brother Emo, it is fate that we meet again today. You and I must discuss the Tao again. That rainy night, I still remember the enlightenment you gave me." Emoji nodded his head with a smile, and the two of them walked out of the hall. On the main planet of the Rosefinch Holy Sect, the space next to the volcano where Wang Lin was cultivating for several days twisted. Wang Lin stepped out with Emoji behind him. Looking at the black smoke coming out of the volcano, Wang Lin sat down and slapped his bag of holding. 2 wine bottles appeared, and he threw one at Emoji. Wang Lin took a sip and said, "The rain is born in the sky and dies on the earth. The process of flowing in between is life." This sentence is still fresh in Wang's memory. Emoji took the wine bottle and sat down. He also recalled the past and smiled. "Back then, I was a member of the Cultivation Alliance. Under the special request of my teacher, I was sent to Shizuku to be stationed there. On that rainy night, I gained enlightenment and went out for a walk. I didn't expect to meet Brother Wang. Back then, even without my guidance, Brother Wang's life and death domain would have been comprehended on its own." Wang Lin shook his head. "Sometimes, if you understand, but if you don't, no matter how much you try to understand, there will always be a layer of paper that you can't poke through, and you won't be able to understand." The second time I met Brother Wang was in the Rosefinch Holy Tomb. I originally wanted you to become the master of Shizuku, but I underestimated Brother Wang's ambition. Emoji's expression was sincere as he picked up the wine jug and took a sip. "I didn't expect Brother Wang to become the divine emperor of the Rosefinch Holy Sect the third time we met. I'm very happy." The two of them drank and reminisced about the past. The 1,000 years in their memories quickly passed as they talked and laughed. Gradually, it was as if they had returned to the ancient temple on that rainy night. "Brother Wang's life and death domain is complete, but the changes to your domain are not something I can see through. However, my teacher once said that all domains are related to one state of mind. The change of the heart is often the change of the domain. Perhaps these words will be helpful to Brother Wang." As the two of them discussed Tao, time gradually passed. Early in the morning, Emoji said his goodbyes and left. He didn't stay to attend Wang Lin's ascension ceremony. Instead, he took the 4 pieces of jade Wang Lin had given him and left. The things recorded in the 4 pieces of jade were enough to shock the entire Alliance star system. Emoji had to hand them over to his teacher as soon as possible and then send them to the other 3 forces. As for their country of Chuyun, thanks to Wang Lin's subtle hints, Emoji had his own speculations, so he naturally wouldn't let his teacher participate. After sending off Emoji, people came to congratulate him in the next few days, but Wang Lin didn't personally receive them. Time quickly passed, and the day of the Ascension ceremony arrived. On this day, the entire Rosefinch Holy Sect was filled with liveliness. The elders and family members of the other 3 sects came to witness the Ascension ceremony of the new divine emperor. Although this ceremony was cumbersome, it was a tradition. It took an entire day for it to be completed. The people of the other 3 sects gradually left. The Rosefinch Holy Sect slowly returned to its previous calm. Many family members focused on cultivating. As for the elders, they all learned about saving the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor. They all chose to enter closed-door cultivation to maintain their peak cultivation. After all, saving the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor was extremely important. At this moment, Wang Lin's figure appeared at the edge of the burning starfield where the Rosefinch Holy Sect was located. There was an Origin soul floating before him. This Origin soul had the appearance of a middle-aged man. He looked at Wang Lin with a kind and satisfied expression. "You're very good. Although you're not the most talented person I've seen in the old man's remaining years, you're the one I'm most satisfied with. I feel at ease handing over the Rosefinch Holy Sect to you." Wang Lin remained silent and didn't say anything. Unfortunately, I don't have much time left. If you give me another 60 years, I'm confident I can give you the complete inheritance. Unfortunately, the middle-aged man shook his head and sighed. He looked at Wang Lin and softly said, I'm afraid I won't be able to return from this trip to the Alliance headquarters. However, I will obtain the Rain Realm celestial crystal no matter the price. Right now, I have split 90% of my origin soul to absorb the avatars that I sent out in the past. There's still 10% of my origin soul left at the location of my physical body. After I obtain the celestial crystal, I will use a secret method to transfer the Rain Realm celestial crystal to the location of my avatar. After you obtain the celestial crystal, as for the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor, if you can save him, try to save him. If you force it, you have to prioritize your own safety. The middle-aged man slowly said, as if he was making arrangements for his death. My body has the white flame stone, so it won't rot for 3,000 years. It contains the fire origin energy that the old man cultivated. Every 100 years, you need to cultivate near the old man's body to absorb the origin energy. This will be a great help to your cultivation, so you must remember this. However, if there's a life and death crisis, don't worry about the old man's soul. Use the 9 mysterious transformations to detonate the old man's body and allow you or the Rosefinch Holy Sect to survive this crisis. The middle-aged man reluctantly looked at the burning star system and then at the vermilion bird divine sect on the cultivation planets in the distance. He looked melancholy and was even more reluctant to part. Wang Lin, the old man is gone. The old man will help you find news about your senior brother Shimizu. The middle-aged man looked at Wang Lin with even more kindness. He raised his right hand and placed it on Wang Lin's forehead. He softly said, Don't blame me for placing such a difficult situation on you. He took a profound look at Wang Lin before turning around and walking into the distance. His figure was elegant and filled with the freedom of countless years of pressure as he slowly walked forward. The old man, Liu Yun, was born in the ancient Qi refining era. I was the 4th-generation Divine Emperor's alchemy boy. The 4th-generation Divine Emperor didn't abandon me and taught me the art of Qi refining. At the age of 1,372, I had some success in Qi refining. I followed the Divine Emperor and witnessed the glory of my Rosefinch Holy Sect. At the age of 2,945, the old man became an elder of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. At the age of 4,760, the old man became one of the elders of my Rosefinch Holy Sect and passed through the first heaven's blight. At the age of 6,215, the old man was bestowed with the Rosefinch mark. During his first awakening, he battled all the other awakeners and became the first. At the age of 7,912, the old man underwent the second awakening of the Rosefinch mark with the help of the 4th-generation Divine Emperor. From then on, he became the young master of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. 11,460, Sher San, the Tattoo clan came from the outer realm and disturbed the world. My Rosefinch Holy Sect helped the Celestial Realm battle the Tattoo clan. After this battle, the 4th-generation Divine Emperor and the other 3 Divine Emperors went to the outer realm and disappeared. Before they left, they appointed me as the 5th-generation Divine Emperor. At this moment, I just passed through the second heaven's blight with the help of the Divine Emperor. It was at this moment that I learned a shocking secret about my 4 Divine Sect. The 4 Divine Sect isn't from the sealed realm. They came to the outer realm a long time ago. At the same time, I also learned that the 1st-generation Divine Emperor and family members of the 4 Divine Sect appeared on a small cultivation planet before the ancient celestial realm was formed and the 4 celestial realms hadn't split yet. That cultivation planet, to be more accurate, is the root of my Rosefinch Holy Sect and the other 3 sections. It is also the path to my hometown. This planet is still in the hands of my Rosefinch Holy Sect, and the other 3 sects don't have any objections. After all, not many people know about this. In order to prevent anything from happening in the future, This matter was the deepest secret of my four divine sect from the time of the first generation divine emperor. Not even celestial Emperor Qing Lin knew anything about it. Moreover, when the four divine emperors occupied the brilliant void star system, they had opened up many similar stars. Due to the confusion, almost no one could tell which one was the origin star. Apart from this, the first generation's four great saint emperors also took action, using other concealment methods. With these methods, they could ensure that this star would never truly be completely discovered. Thousands of years after that, a strange phenomenon appeared in the celestial realm. At that moment, all living beings in the world felt a moment of confusion. It was as if they were isolated from everything and were in chaos. Chapter 1097. And I was also confused for a moment under this unimaginable power. I thought it was only a moment, but in reality, it was 3 months. When I woke up after 3 months, the celestial realm was already collapsing. The new Azure Dragon Divine Emperor didn't listen to my advice and went to the celestial realm to investigate. After that, he never returned. Another few hundred years passed, and due to the collapse of the celestial realm, chaos appeared in the brilliant void realm. An organization called the Cultivation Alliance appeared, and there was a faint shadow of the brilliant void realm behind it. This Cultivation Alliance used some unknown method to obtain a majority of the inheritance in the Reign Celestial Realm. I originally wanted to ask about the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor's whereabouts, but my third heaven's blight arrived many years early. While I was in closed-door cultivation, the Cultivation Alliance launched an attack on the Four Divine Sect. The Black Tortoise Divine Emperor betrayed us, and although I seriously injured him, I was in my third heaven's blight, so I couldn't kill him. The White Tiger Divine Emperor died in battle, and even his body was stolen. The Cultivation Alliance suffered great losses, but they didn't know the root of this war. They always thought it was for the position of overlord in the brilliant void realm. They didn't know that the real reason this war was not for the position of overlord, but that the brilliant void realm had used some unknown method to make the Black Tortoise Divine Emperor betray us and find out the secret of my four divine sect. However, the brilliant void realm only knew the secret and didn't know the location of the cultivation planet. The brilliant void realm was very large, and finding a cultivation planet in a vast star sea was simply too difficult. Also, the cultivation planet had been modified by the first generation four divine emperors, so it was impossible to find any clues about it. According to the agreement between the first generation four divine emperors, only the inheritors of my Rosefinch divine emperor were qualified to know its exact location. As a result, there was a war between the Alliance and the Four Divine Sect. During the crisis, I didn't hesitate to use the primordial holy artifact to threaten them, but I couldn't keep this secret by myself, and it concerned the life and death of everyone in the Four Divine Sect. In the end, I still told them about the location of the planet. The brilliant void realm was also worried about the Four Divine artifact, and because what I said involved too many things, they couldn't tell the truth from the lies, so the war slowly ended. I took the Four Divine Sect into hiding, but because I was too heavily injured, I wasn't willing to die. After all, if I died, the Four Divine Sect would immediately fall apart, and I still haven't found an inheritor for that secret. I used a spell to survive and endured the pain of the third heaven's blight for countless years. Until now, I'm about to be freed. The middle-aged man's figure gradually disappeared, but his voice echoed in Wang Lin's mind for a long time. Wang Lin, remember what I'm going to say next. This is the deepest secret of my Four Divine Sect. I don't know why the first-generation Divine Emperor placed so much importance on it, but there must be something important about it. Remember it and pass it down. My Four Divine Sect came from that primitive planet. You can think of it as a door. This door was divided into 4 parts by the first-generation Divine Emperor and hidden in 4 different cultivation planets. Then the ancient celestial realm disappeared, and the 4 celestial realms were split into 4 different star systems. I only told the brilliant void realm one of them, which is where you were born, I don't know if the other 3 locations have changed or what they are called, but remember these 3 star maps. As the middle-aged man's divine sense passed in, 3 ancient star maps appeared in Wang Lin's mind. At this moment, Wang Lin was extremely shocked. He didn't expect the 4 divine sect to have such a secret. He didn't expect the Suzaku he was in to be the key to the war between the brilliant Void Realm and the 4 divine sect. No wonder one of the avatars of the old divine emperor stayed in Suzaku. No wonder Mo.G's teacher wanted Mo.G to go to Suzaku. I fear his teacher is not an ordinary person. I don't know how he saw some clues. No wonder Lu Mei also appeared in Suzaku, and the Tattoo Clan is also in Suzaku. Wang Lin had gradually learned that Huang Long was the avatar of the old divine emperor. After the middle-aged man explained everything, he suddenly paused and looked back at Wang Lin. He revealed a kind smile and softly said, "If the pressure is too great, if the 4 divine sect has no chance of glory, if the heavens really want to destroy my 4 divine sect, then don't force yourself." After he finished speaking, the middle-aged man took a step and disappeared. He left Wang Lin standing there in a daze. What he had just heard made him lose the ability to think. His mind was shaken, and it took him a long time to recover. At this moment, in the western part of the Alliance occupied by the Luo Tian, a ray of light flew over from the Thunder Celestial Temple's palace. There was a figure inside this ray of light. It was an origin soul. This origin soul was almost transparent, and there were many red lines inside it. It looked very shocking. There was a strange smile on the Yuan soul's face, as if he was enjoying the feeling of wanting to die. However, his eyes were filled with extreme fear and chaos. "Master Flamespark, save me!" Just as it closed in on the Thunder Celestial Temple, the origin soul let out a sharp scream. This scream turned into a sonic boom that echoed across the stars. In an instant, figures appeared outside the temple. A person stepped out from the flames in front. This person had white hair. It was the Thunder Celestial Temple's Master Flamespark. He took a step and instantly arrived next to the origin soul. His eyes were extremely serious as his right hand formed a seal and reached out. He immediately grabbed the origin soul. His left hand quickly tapped the Yuan Shun's body several times. Every time he tapped the Yuan Shun's body, dense energy of the world surging into the Yuan Shun's body through his hand. The red lines inside his body shrank, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't force them out of Li Yunzi's body. After being rushed in by the origin energy, Li Yunzi's mind became a bit more sober, and he quickly said, "On the way back, I was sneak attacked by Serene's people." Before he finished speaking, the red lines inside his body began to struggle under the pressure of the origin energy. This caused Li Yunzi to stop speaking for a moment. The smile that wasn't a smile gradually appeared on his face, and confusion appeared in his eyes. Although he didn't finish speaking, his words clearly entered the ears of the elders outside the Thunder Celestial Temple. Their expressions became extremely gloomy. "Serene." Master Flamespark frowned, and his right hand mercilessly pointed between Li Yunzi's eyebrows. Li Yunzi's origin soul trembled, and he regained his consciousness. Master Flamespark shouted, "Li Yunzi, speak clearly. Why did Serene sneak attack you?" "That Rosefinch Divine Emperor is Wang Lin. He told me to give you a jade. On the way back, I was sneak attacked by someone and was poisoned by the Heavenly Desire poison." Li Yunzi's mind was in chaos. Although his cultivation level was higher than Situnan's, he wasn't at the Nirvana Shatterer stage. He didn't have a body, so he couldn't compare to Situ Nan in terms of talent. He could find another way to suppress the poison. Due to various reasons, the poison in Li Yunzi's body became extremely fierce. As he spoke, his right hand struggled to grab at the air. A crack immediately appeared in front of him, and a jade slip flew out from within. After doing all of this, he could no longer withstand the strange poison in his body. He coughed out a mouthful of origin energy and passed out. Master Flamespark grabbed the jade and carefully looked at it. Even with Master Flamespark's mental strength, his expression changed greatly and his eyes shined brightly. This news Master Flamespark felt like he was struck by lightning and was startled on the spot. He subconsciously scanned it with his divine sense once more before he was sure. At this moment, all the elders around him looked over. Master Flamespark waved his right hand, and the jade flew into the hand of an old man. The old man's expression became serious, and when his divine sense scanned it, his expression also changed greatly. It didn't take long for almost all the elders here to finish reading it. After everyone finished reading it, their expressions changed greatly. One of the old men pondered a bit and slowly said, "I don't know if this matter is true or false. If such a person is allowed to escape, the Alliance Star system will fall into a catastrophe. This matter originally has nothing to do with us. But if the image left in the jade is true, then our Luo Tian will lose all the space we occupy. We will immediately have to return to the Luo Tian and be heavily guarded. If that person enters the Luo Tian..." The old man's body trembled and his eyes were filled with terror. This is most likely false. It is impossible for such a person to exist in this world. Looking at the contents of the jade, even us Nirvana Shatterer cultivators would be injured or killed by just one finger. It is simply absurd. Another old man coldly snorted. Master Flamespark suddenly said, "Does everyone still remember that moon beast?" All the elders were startled and began to ponder. However, there is no need to care too much about this matter. After all, Master Flamespark suddenly paused, and his expression became extremely respectful, as if he was listening to a voice. Master Flamespark's strange action didn't surprise the surrounding elders. Instead, they all became respectful. A moment later, Master Flamespark's expression changed once more. He clasped his hands toward the west and respectfully said, "As you command." He turned around and looked at the people around him with a serious expression. He said, "Stop all war with the Alliance and gather all cultivators above the Nirvana Scryer stage. Once I return from the Four Divine Sect, listen to the old man's command." The same scene was happening in the Serene. However, compared to the Luo Tian, the jade Li Ingji brought back made the entire Serene go crazy. He caught a cold and felt very uncomfortable. Chapter 1098. In the southern region of the Alliance where the corpse sect was located, Li Ingji knelt on one knee with her hands on her chest, as if she was worshipping. Before her floated a jade that emitted a milky white glow. This was only a very ordinary jade, extremely ordinary. However, its appearance would cause the entire Alliance Star system to fall into a catastrophe. It was enough to make everyone go crazy, especially Serene. Li Ingji told him everything that had happened after she entered the Four Divine Sect in detail. In the end, she handed over the jade slip. The moment the jade slip appeared, an invisible force spread out and swept the jade slip to the center of the coffins. The moment the jade slip flew over, a withered arm reached out from the largest coffin in the middle and grabbed it. That arm was covered in intersecting black and red colors. The black color was the tendons, while the red color was the flesh. As the tendons and flesh spread out, an ancient aura spread out. It was as if that arm came from ancient times and contained the aura of time. The moment this arm appeared, the world was filled with Yin energy. A cold storm appeared and swept the surroundings. Even Li Ingji couldn't withstand it and retreated, but her face was filled with extreme respect. The arm grabbed the jade slip, and an extremely powerful divine sense suddenly spread out from the coffin. It filled the jade slip. The divine sense was so powerful that Li Ingji's face paled almost as soon as it appeared. Even her origin soul began to tremble. This divine sense was filled with madness and tyranny, as if it wanted to rush out of the coffin, tear apart space, and slaughter all life. There was also a dense smell of blood within this divine sense. In truth, there was no smell of blood, but when one was within the range of this divine sense, the feeling of one's mind naturally made one smell blood. "You? What is your name?" A powerful divine sense swept out. Li Ingji was like a lonely boat in the raging sea, unable to control herself. Disciple Li Ingji greets the third king. The flirtatious woman knelt on the ground with fear in her eyes. She didn't think that the jade slip would awaken the third king. Li Yingji became even more nervous when she thought of the legends about the third king. She had originally thought that while the contents of the jade slip were extremely shocking, it would at most be able to awaken the fifth king. After all, she had some guesses about the corpse imprinted in the jade slip. However, at this moment, when the divine sense of slaughter spread out, Li Yingji knew that she had underestimated the corpse inside the jade. Not only her, but almost all the serene disciples in the southern region felt this divine sense. They gave up everything else and knelt down to worship. For you to be able to bring this jade scroll back, you have made a great contribution. You may enter the corpse pit, and I will grant you the right to enter the 6th floor and choose a corpse puppet. The gloomy voice echoed in Li Yingji's ears, causing her to tremble with excitement. This was especially so when she thought of the legendary corpses in the 6th level of the corpse pit. Li Yingji's breathing became ragged. "Thank you, third king," the gloomy voice slowly said. "Do you know what the corpse inside the jade is?" Li Yingji pondered a bit and hesitantly said, "Disciple doesn't know much, but I have a vague guess that this corpse is an ancient god from ancient times." A burst of laughter suddenly echoed. The gloomy voice seemed to be extremely excited, and, as the laughter echoed, a fluctuation appeared in the divine sense. "Ancient god? This body indeed belongs to an ancient god. If it was an ordinary ancient god, it wouldn't be a big deal, but this corpse is a royal ancient god. An 8-star royal ancient god." In the end, the greed in the voice was enough to shake the world and cause the origin energy in the entire star system to change. Royal ancient god. Li Yingji was startled, but she didn't ask. "Gather all the disciples of my serene and sacrifice their blood to the heavens to fill the corpse pit. Open the 9th floor and take out the 8 corpses. This time, 8 of the 9 kings of the corpse insect will come out. In addition, gather all the elders of serene. This time, I, serene, must obtain the body of a royal ancient god." A thunderous voice suddenly echoed across the southern region of the Alliance star system. All the people of serene could clearly feel it. They trembled and respectfully nodded. As a result, it was as if a sonic boom had been set off in the southern region of the Alliance. Disciple isn't sure if this jade is real. Li Yingji was shocked. Although she had expected the contents of the jade to shock serene, she didn't expect it to be beyond shock. It was the power of all of serene. As a result, she couldn't help but panic. If the contents of the jade were real, it wouldn't matter, but she wasn't sure. If the contents of a jade were fake, she would have to bear unimaginable consequences. After all, she was the one who brought the jade back. "No problem. Since Divine Emperor Rosefinch told you to bring the jade back, then with his identity, there's a 70% chance that the jade is real. This is no small matter. With the power of the 4 divine sect, they wouldn't easily spread fake news like this and play tricks on my serene, the Luo Tian, and the Alliance. However, this king still has to personally go to the 4 divine sect. The 2 jades were like 2 giant invisible hands in the Alliance star system that affected the hearts of countless people. An undercurrent seemed to gradually appear, and an earth-shattering event was brewing. Similarly, when Moj returned to the country of Chuyun, 3 jades were quickly sent to the 3 most powerful forces in the Alliance. At the same time, the war with the Luo Tian stopped, and a large amount of cultivators left the battlefield. The people of serene also stopped trading corpses with the other forces and quickly left. These strange changes made the Alliance cultivators pay great attention to them. The creator of all of this, Wang Lin, was calmly living in the Rosefinch divine sect. He sat at the edge of the volcano all day, quietly cultivating. Beside him was a huge frog beast. Lightning flickered on its body as it swam around the area, producing popping sounds. The thunder toad seemed to be able to withstand the high temperature here. The Great War was imminent, and Wang Lin knew that he didn't have much time left. He had to quickly improve his spells so that he would have enough space to survive in the upcoming war. At the same time, he was waiting waiting for the people of Serene and the Luo Tian to come again. Wang Lin was confident that the two different jades he had sent out would cause those two forces to swarm over. Wang Lin's mind was extraordinary, but he rarely used schemes. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but with his previous state, all his schemes were just tricks. However, right now it was different. With the four divine sect behind him, he could use open schemes. He clearly told everyone about the news of the ancient god, and the other side also knew that Wang Lin was plotting something. Anyone with a bit of intelligence could clearly see this. If Wang Lin hadn't become the Rosefinch Divine Emperor, then it wouldn't have had any effect and would have brought disaster upon himself. Whether it was the Luo Tian or Serene, their first choice would have been to capture him and interrogate him. However, whether it was Serene or Luo Tian, neither of them had this choice. After all, aside from the three forces, there was also the Cultivation Alliance, which was as incompatible as fire and water. The mysteriousness of the four divine sect and the foundation of the former overlord were enough to make others shrink back. Once a war broke out, the price would be too high. This was the real reason Wang Lin dared to spread the news. Similarly, Wang Lin knew that his identity as an ancient god was no longer a secret to the powerful cultivators of the Alliance. After all, in the demon spirit land, Wang Lin shined brilliantly and even used the spell Dream of ancient times. Wang Lin wouldn't believe it if others didn't suspect him. This was one of the main reasons he agreed to the old Rosefinch Divine Emperor's request to come to the Rosefinch Divine Sect. If he hadn't come to the Rosefinch Divine Sect, with Wang Lin's injuries, it would have been difficult for him to move an inch in the Alliance star system. He would have been hunted all day, and sooner or later, he would have been captured. It was because of this that when he spread the news about Tuasan, it became even more believable. Others had to believe it, and there was no need to lie about this. Once they arrived at the land of the ancient god in Sisu, they would know the truth at first glance. Luo Tian, Serene Cultivation Alliance. I wonder if these three forces can deal with Tuasan if they all go to the land of the ancient god. Wang Lin pondered for a moment. Then his eyes lit up, and he no longer thought about this problem. In truth, luring the three forces to go to Suzaku was only the first part of his plan. After that, he had another plan within a plan. After taking a deep breath, Wang Lin raised his head and looked at the thunder frog beside him. The frog looked like it was sleeping, but there were slivers of fire origin energy slowly entering its body. The thunder frog and mosquito beast were released by Wang Lin when he arrived at the Rosefinch Divine Sect. He let them cultivate on their own. Yesterday, the thunder frog came from the Black Tortoise Divine Sect and found Wang Lin. The mosquito beast should have arrived by now. Why hasn't it come to find me? The elders of the Azure Dragon Divine Sect said that the mosquito beast flew out before them. Although the mosquito beast is slower than the elders, it should have arrived by now. Wang Lin frowned. After pondering for a bit, he suppressed the doubts in his heart. Forget it. Perhaps the mosquito beast was naughty and delayed a few days. Wang Lin's hand formed a seal and pointed at his body several times. A strange redness appeared on his face, and there was a hint of pain on his face. With Wang Lin's control over fire origin energy, he wouldn't feel any unbearable heat, much less sweat. However, at this moment, large beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. After a long time, Wang Lin let out a mouthful of foul air. There was a flash of red light on his chest, and a broken sword slowly extended out from his chest. Chapter 1099. The broken sword was crimson, and as soon as it appeared, a monstrous killing intent burst out. The killing intent was so strong that it instantly filled the entire main planet, and even rushed into the starry sky. Even the flames burning outside the planet paused under the killing intent and spread out. This broken sword was formed by the gray-robed Tian Yunzi's slaughter aura. After the battle in the demon spirit land, it was left inside Wang Lin's body. During these 3 years, he had been healing and slowly refining this sword. The part that had disappeared into his origin soul had been refined, and now only the broken sword remained inside his body. During these 3 years of cultivation, I have gained a basic understanding of this sword. After refining it, I can cultivate the celestial slaughter art without any risk of 1 million strands of slaughter exploding. Wang Lin still couldn't forget about the slaughter aura. After all, he had cultivated the celestial slaughter art for many years and had even reached completion. It was at that time that he learned about the dangers of the celestial slaughter art with the help of ancient demon Bei Lu's comprehension. If he continued to cultivate it, his body would collapse in a true slaughter aura, and he would become the gray-robed Tian Yunzis. In the end, he had to give up. He felt regret in his heart, but at this moment, that regret disappeared. Staring at the broken sword before him, Wang Lin's right eye lit up and a sea of fire appeared before him. It surrounded the broken sword and burned fiercely. Wang Lin didn't stop. His right hand formed a seal and pointed to between his eyebrows. His ancient thunder dragon origin soul came out and spat out a mouthful of origin energy at the broken sword. Inside the ancient thunder dragon origin soul, Wang Lin's second origin soul, formed by the 9 mysterious transformations, suddenly opened its eyes and also spat out a mouthful of origin energy. As a result, thunder and fire intersected and origin energy surged. The moment the origin energy touched the fire surrounding the broken sword, it began to burn as if boiling oil had been added to it. Thunder rumbled incessantly. Gradually, the edges of the scarlet broken sword began to show signs of melting. However, almost as soon as it melted, a cold, murderous aura immediately emerged from the broken sword to fight against the flames. Wang Lin wasn't unfamiliar with this phenomenon. Every time he refined the broken sword, something like this would happen. However, today, Wang Lin didn't have time to waste. He had to completely refine the broken sword to form his own slaughter sword. Then he could continue to cultivate the powerful offensive and defensive spell of the celestial slaughter art. If it was before he successfully refined the 9 mysterious transformations, Wang Lin wouldn't have been completely confident in succeeding. However, right now, he was 70% confident. Wang Lin was under the giant ball of magma, and his hands continued to move the fire origin energy into the ball. Time slowly passed, and in the blink of an eye, 24 hours went by. If this kind of refining went on for too long, even Wang Lin wouldn't be able to bear it. Not only would it consume his own origin energy, it would also consume the celestial origin energy he had devoured over the past 3 years. After 24 hours passed, Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly, and he let out a roar. He waved his hand, and with a bang, the giant ball of magma collapsed into countless burning fragments. The broken sword was unable to resist the raging flames and melted. It was devoured by Wang Lin's second origin soul and returned to Wang Lin's body. Master Void and Tian Yunzi's souls also returned to the celestial sealing stamp. Wang Lin closed his eyes and cultivated for a while. A red sword gradually formed around his second origin soul, and it was surrounded by strands of slaughter energy. As long as Wang Lin willed it, the slaughter energy would rush out. Unfortunately, refining this sword consumed too much slaughter energy. Right now, there's less than 1 million strands of slaughter energy left. I need to continue to cultivate and add more. Wang Lin opened his eyes and let out a deep breath. He slapped his bag of holding, and a ray of light flew out. It turned into an ancient trident before Wang Lin. Wang Lin stared at the trident, but just at this moment, his expression changed, and he looked up at the stars. There was a flash of guilt and bleakness in Wang Lin's eyes. I'll have to give him an explanation for this matter. Wang Lin let out a sigh as he put away the trident. Then his body flickered, and he disappeared. Not far from the planet Wang Lin was on was the Rosefinch Divine Sex Planet. This was the main planet, and there were many red mountains on it. It was very spectacular. At this moment, there was a woman kneeling on the highest mountain on the planet. She was very beautiful, but her expression was miserable. She knelt there motionlessly. Before her was a black statue. This statue was of Wang Lin. Behind the statue was a cave at the top of the mountain, and it was completely dark inside. There was a young man in black sitting beside the statue. He had a cold expression and his eyes were closed. He didn't even look at the woman as he calmly cultivated. "I beg you, let me in." There were tears in the woman's eyes as she looked at the man in black. The young man in black opened his eyes and coldly said, "No." The woman's body trembled. Just as she was about to speak, a sigh came from the sky. Ripples echoed above the mountain, and Wang Lin walked out. The moment Wang Lin appeared, the young man in black was filled with excitement. He immediately got up and respectfully said, "Sure San greets teacher." When the woman saw Wang Lin, her expression became even more miserable, but she didn't speak. Wang Lin nodded at Sure San and softly said to the woman, "Ling Er, take me to your great-grandfather." "Great-grandfather? He can't hold on much longer." Tears flowed down Ling Er's cheeks. The guilt in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. He waved his sleeves and disappeared with Ling Er. After he left, 2 rays of light shined from the cave at the top of the mountain. Wang Lin's original body opened his eyes and was also filled with guilt. On his shoulder, the star-marked sable obediently lay down and licked Wang Lin's neck. No one saw that below the waist of Wang Lin's original body, there was only a pile of bones that gave off a ghostly aura. In the city of the Rosefinch Divine Sect, there was an old man with white hair and an ancient face. He was drinking wine, and his expression was filled with madness. "Second brother, third brother, big brother is sorry." The old man took a big gulp of wine and let it flow down the corner of his mouth, merging with the tears in his eyes. What he drank was wine and also his tears. Because of the merging of the tears, the wine was no longer sweet and was filled with bitterness. Because of the bitterness in the old man's heart, rather than saying he was drinking wine, it was more accurate to say he was drinking his own tears. Ripples echoed behind him, and Wang Lin and Ling Er walked out. When Ling Er saw the old man, even more tears flowed out. She was about to go up and take the old man's wine jug, but she was stopped by Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a sigh and walked toward the old man. He sat down on the wall with him and casually picked up a jug of wine to take a big gulp. At this moment, in the central region of the Alliance star system, there was a group of dozens of mosquito-like beasts flying by. Their eyes were completely red, and a fragrance that only the mosquito beasts could smell slowly spread out. These mosquito beasts seemed to be controlled by this fragrance. Before them were 3 young men in yellow. Each of them held a strange incense stick in their hands as they carefully led this group of mosquito beasts forward. One of them revealed a greedy expression and whispered, "I didn't expect the Alliance star system to have giant mosquito beasts. Once we meet up with the Elder and lead these giant mosquito beasts, the 3 of us will be able to earn a great merit." One of them said with greed in his eyes. His voice was a bit different from the cultivators of the Alliance star system. It was as if he came from outside the Alliance star system. Chapter 1100. Wang Lin and Master Chun sat on the city wall and silently drank the wine in their hands. Sometimes they would look up and see the fiery red world in the distance. Waves of heat rushed by. Dead. Third brother is dead, and second brother's origin soul dissipated. Master Chun bitterly drank the wine in the jug and threw it to the side. Chun Dao's 3 brothers. Chun Dao's 3 brothers. Now I'm the only one left. Wang Lin silently pondered as he drank the wine in his hand and softly said, "Back then, I shouldn't have let the 3 of you go with me." Master Chun suddenly turned around and stared at Wang Lin. His eyes were filled with hatred and ferociousness. Wang Lin also silently looked at Master Chun. "Ling Er, go get some wine." The 2 of them stared at each other for a long time. The ferociousness on Master Chun's face gradually disappeared, and he bleakly said to Ling Er. He turned around and looked at the fiery red world in the distance. "Cultivators go against the heavens. Since we've stepped on this path of no return, we will inevitably die. I understand this. Back then, you invited the 3 of us to the demon spirit land, but you didn't force us. The 3 of us volunteered. The old man also understands this." Master Chin's face was filled with bitterness as he looked at the scattered jugs of wine. He picked up a few and shook them, but they were all empty. Wang Lin silently handed the jug of wine to Master Chun. Master Chun took it and drank a big gulp. Tears flowed down from his eyes, and he muttered, "The old man hates that his cultivation level isn't high enough. He hates that he can't revive second and third brothers. He hates that he can't get revenge. I'm ashamed to face their souls." At this moment, Ling Er had also bought wine from the city. Her eyes were red as she placed a few jugs of wine next to Master Chun. Wang Lin picked up a jug of wine and drank it all in one gulp. His eyes were filled with decisiveness, and he said, "Master Dao Chun, Wang is responsible for this matter. If I hadn't sent the three of you, such a sad thing wouldn't have happened. The person who killed your junior apprentice brother was ancient Devil Tajia. Wang promises that it won't be long before you have the chance to personally kill ancient Devil Tajia to get revenge for your junior apprentice brother." Daoist Chen's body trembled, and he looked up at Wang Lin with excitement. "Is that true? This is Wang's promise to you." Wang Lin placed the wine pot on the ground, stood up, and gazed into the distance, as if he was reminiscing about something. He slowly said, "A person's life is filled with life and death. Once you have seen through it, you will see through it. Your two junior brothers, and you will be enough to pay tribute to them. For cultivators like us, life and death are no longer in our control. In the vast star system, cultivators die every day. How many people remember them, and how many people can pay tribute to them? Once you step onto this path of no return, you must see through life and death. You must see through your own life and death, and you must see through the life and death of others." Wang once brought the ashes of an old friend back to his hometown. There, he heard a child's song. The apricot tree blooms white flowers, and the adopted daughter doesn't treat the Taoist as her home. Last year, the second son went up the mountain, and after the first son's body turned cold, the adopted daughter's cries accompany the dead, but she treats the coffin as her home. The apricot tree blooms white flowers, and the child doesn't want to see the Taoist. If you ask me how old I am, I say I have no Tao fate. The dog barks, and the cat scratches me. The apricot tree blooms white flowers, and the child doesn't want to see the Taoist. If you ask me how old I am, I say I have no Tao fate. The dog barks, and the cat scratches me. Scared the Taoist back to his hometown. A little nursery rhyme points to the sorrow of my generation. Master Chun, see through it. Once you see through it, your pain will lessen a bit. Master Chun stared at Wang Lin's back as the word for before echoed in his ears. Seeing that Wang Lin was about to leave, he stood up and shouted, "Do you see through it?" In the distance, Wang Lin's body trembled, and he stopped. He didn't turn his head. After pondering for a long time, he softly said, "I don't see through it." With a bitter expression, Wang Lin turned into a ray of light and flew into the sky. Time slowly passed. Ever since Wang Lin left Master Chen's place, he had been sitting cross-legged next to the mouth of the volcano. He silently looked at the volcano and replayed the scenes of the past in his mind. He couldn't see through life and death, so he had to endure more than 1,000 years of pain and loneliness. Moreover, he had to continue to endure it. He had to struggle in the pain and use his heart as his soul to walk on the path of cultivation. There was no beginning, no end, and no end. At the volcano, aside from the sound of the black smoke rising up, there was also the sound of fire burning. Aside from that, it was completely silent. In this silence, Wang Lin silently sat there. Before him was a coffin. This coffin was like crystal and emitted a bright light. Inside the coffin was a woman. This woman's skin was crystal clear. She didn't look like a dead person at all, but like she was sleeping. This woman didn't have a stunning appearance, nor did she have a temperament that could topple a city. However, in Wang Lin's eyes, even the most beautiful woman in the world couldn't compare to the woman in the coffin. Wang Lin's right hand gently rubbed the coffin. His eyes were gentle as he looked at the woman in the coffin. It was as if he had returned to Shizaku. Life and death, in the end, Wang Lin couldn't see through it. At this moment, it was as if everything in the world no longer existed. The only thing left was him and the woman in the coffin. He silently felt the loneliness and quietly looked at the woman who had accompanied him for more than 1,000 years. In this quiet world, Wang Lin's heart gradually found a trace of warmth. Although this warmth was little, it fused with Wang Lin's soul. It was like the illusion on the left bank. It knew it could disappear at any moment, but it still stubbornly looked at it, even if it was separated by the river of life and death. More than 1,000 years of cultivation. The woman in the coffin was the only hope in Wang Lin's heart. As he rubbed the coffin, Wang Lin seemed to forget everything as he silently looked at the woman. When you wake up, we will find a peach garden that no one can find and live in peace. A gentle smile appeared on Wang Lin's face. This was a small wish in the eyes of others, but it was the greatest wish in his heart. In the past, I didn't really understand, but now I understand. Wang Lin murmured. A deep sorrow and melancholy came from his body. In the past, he was ignorant of the love between Zhou Yi and Qing Xuan. But after more than 1,000 years of cultivation, after experiencing endless loneliness, Wang Lin understood. It was a kind of spiritual sustenance, a kind of stubbornness and struggle, and a kind of unwillingness. Wan Er, do you remember I told you that even if the heavens want you to die, I'll take you back? Wang Lin's eyes were filled with heaven-defying determination. In this burning starfield, the one thing the Rosefinch Divine Sect didn't lack was volcanoes. In this special environment, volcanoes would often erupt with magma. Every time a volcano erupted, it would cause the entire land to tremble. The rumbling sounds were earth-shattering, especially when the billowing black smoke covered the sky and the lava fell like rain. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. For the disciples of the Rosefinch Divine Sect, they had seen too many volcanic eruptions, but Wang Lin had seen very few of them. At this moment, muffled rumbles continued to echo from the volcano he was in, and they became even more intense. However, Wang Lin didn't care at all. In his eyes, there was only Li Muan inside the coffin. The rumbling within the volcano became more and more intense. In the end, it was as if there was a giant beast roaring within the volcano. A cloud of black smoke rose from the crater of the volcano as the earth trembled. It formed a ring in the sky and spread wildly in all directions. It covered the red light that was coming from the sky and caused the earth to be plunged into darkness. Shortly after, the roars from the volcano became even more intense. In an instant, a monstrous red light shot out and a pillar of magma shot into the sky. From afar, this scene was extremely shocking. At this moment, Wang Lin was sitting next to the crater of the volcano. The surrounding rocks trembled and large amounts of rocks fell off. Some of them were even sucked into the magma. This magma seemed to have shot into the sky right in front of Wang Lin. It was less than 3 meters away from him. The thick waves of heat and magma were like a fire dragon that rushed out of the volcano. With an earth-shattering roar, it turned into a rain of fire in the sky. At this moment, it was as if the world was collapsing in front of Wang Lin, but he couldn't make him raise his head to look. He just silently looked at the coffin and didn't care at all. As the volcano erupted, the ground seemed to churn, and cracks appeared, which were quickly filled by the falling magma. As the ground trembled and the volcano continued to erupt, thick magma flowed out of the crater of the volcano and flowed down the volcano like angry waves. As the magma flowed, it covered the entire volcano in the blink of an eye and continued to spread. At this moment, the sky was filled with magma like rain and the ground was covered in waves. The entire world was covered in black and red. The black was the rolling smoke, and the red was the magma that illuminated everything. Wang Lin softly said, "Isn't it beautiful? This is the power of mountain crumbles. It is also the eruption of the volcano I have been waiting for. Wan Er, accompany me to witness me comprehend by Fan's fourth spell." Mountain crumbles. Wang Lin softly muttered to himself as he looked at the rain of magma in the sky. At this moment, the volcano that he was in started to rumble again, and another eruption started. The earth trembled even more and caused another volcano to tremble. Under Wang Lin's gaze, the The volcano in the distance suddenly spewed out thick smoke and magma. Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes, and the scene of Shimizu raising his right hand to use mountain crumbles appeared in his mind. In truth, back in the demon spirit land, Wang Lin had already felt a trace of mountain crumbles from the eruption of the volcano. However, this feeling was very weak, and he didn't have time to think about it due to the crisis. However, right now, the cultivation planet of the Rosefinch Holy Sect didn't lack volcanoes. After Wang Lin comprehended the fire origin, he gradually understood the mountain crumbles spell that Shimizu had left in his mind. Recommending a good friend's book, Huang Fuqi's new book, Great Zhou Imperial Family Book Number 1771445. The heaven and earth souls are outside, and only the life soul resides in the body. The life soul resides in the embryo and evolves into the 7 fragments. Everyone's life begins when the life soul is born, but Feng Yun's life began at the end. The true imperial family didn't come from the bloodline, but from the nobility of one's fate and soul. Chapter 1101. Call the wind, summon the rain, magic arsenal, mountain crumbles, earth shatters, dark moon clears. Of Immortal Emperor by Fan's 6 great celestial spells, Wang Lin had already comprehended the first 3 forms. Shimizu once said that the power of the last 3 forms far surpassed the first 3 and were enough to shake heaven and earth. This mountain crumbles was the first form of the last 3 forms. Mountain crumbles took the meaning of collapsing mountains. However, although it sounded simple, it was actually very complicated. The mountain had a mountain soul. If the mountain collapsed, but the soul didn't collapse, its power would only be ordinary. Only when the soul collapsed and the body collapsed at the same time could it have the power of a mountain crumble. In a place filled with mountains, the power of the mountain crumbles could be unleashed. However, this was only the first step. The true mountain crumbles was like Shimizu. In a place without mountains, the mind would turn into a mountain, the shape would become the mountain, and the shape would become the mountain. By fusing celestial energy with divine sense, and turning it into the soul of the mountain. The moment the mountain crumbled was also the moment the celestial energy and divine sense collapsed. Using this power, one could fuse with heaven and earth and turn into countless mountain peaks, turning the fake into reality. This was a great spell that could collapse heaven and earth. The key to the mountain crumbles was not the splitting of the mountain and the soul, nor was it the transformation of the mind, nor was it the fusion of celestial energy and divine sense. It was the word truth. How to make an illusory scene become real was the key to the mountain crumbles. It was also the most difficult part. Looking at the erupting volcano in the distance and feeling the collapse of the volcano below him, Wang Lin opened his eyes and revealed a trace of confusion. Wan Air, what is truth? What is false? No one could answer Wang Lin's question. He silently looked into the distance and felt the fluctuations of heaven and earth around him. His brows gradually furrowed. How can an illusory mountain become real? Shimizu didn't clearly tell Wang Lin about this. The comprehension of Shimizu left in Wang Lin's mind was also very vague. It seemed that Shimizu wanted Wang Lin to understand all of this on his own, rather than pass it on to him. True and false. Are they also like life and death, cause and effect? Wang Lin closed his eyes and continued to ponder the matter. Outside of him, the volcano continued to erupt, growing more and more intense. Even more distant volcanoes began to erupt. For a moment, Wang Lin's surroundings were practically enveloped in endless lava. It was a continuous stretch that had no beginning and no end. Time seemed to last for an eternity. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Lin opened his eyes once more, and he was still confused. He silently slapped the coffin in front of him, causing it to turn into a stream of light and disappear. Wang Lin stood up and leaped into the mouth of the volcano. Thick lava spewed out, but it couldn't stop Wang Lin's figure. He quickly moved through the lava and gradually reached the bottom of the volcano. After sitting down, Wang Lin's hands formed a seal, and he waved them to the side. His eyes shined brightly, and he closed them once more. I don't care if it's true or false. If there's no truth in this world, then there's naturally no falsehood. True and false are only existences. Whether it's true or false, it's all relative. It's the same as life and death. If there's no life in this world, then there's naturally no death. If there's no cause, then there's also no effect. Emoji once said that all domains are comprehensions of the mind. Everything only appears when the heart moves. The moment Wang Lin closed his eyes, the fire origin energy inside his body rushed out like crazy. It fused with the magma and gradually fused with it. It was as if at this moment, he was the lava. After fusing with the lava, Wang Lin's fire origin energy spread out once more and fused with the volcano. Finally, they became one again. This wasn't the end. As Wang Lin's fire origin energy spread out, the lava, the volcano, the surging black smoke, and all the fire origin energy in the world fused into one at this moment. At this moment, Wang Lin felt an ancient aura coming from the volcano. This ancient aura was the soul of the volcano. The moment he felt the soul of the volcano, Wang Lin's origin soul came out of his body and fused with the volcano once more. At this moment, Wang Lin had a feeling that he was the volcano. The ancient soul of the volcano fused with Wang Lin's origin soul, causing Wang Lin to see images. He saw a burning planet, and as the earth trembled, a mountain gradually formed. This mountain was filled with fire origin energy. As time passed, this fire origin energy gradually turned into lava. Finally, when it reached its limit, the top of the mountain collapsed and thick lava spewed out. He saw the mountain gradually calm down after the eruption. He saw the fierce beasts that could survive here fly by, and he saw the disciples of the former Rosefinch divine sect flying by. As the heat wave blew by, some of the seeds that could survive here landed on the mountain. They gradually turned into scarlet grass that covered the mountain, withered, and then grew again. This cycle continued for an unknown amount of time. Finally, the earth shook and the mountain erupted once more. Tens of thousands of years passed in a flash before Wang Lin's eyes. Gradually, Wang Lin seemed to have forgotten his original intention and his identity as a cultivator. It was as if he really had become the soul of this volcano. Each eruption of the volcano seemed to be him venting his anger. At this moment, Wang Lin unknowingly gained enlightenment. I am the volcano. My anger is the landslide. As he gained enlightenment, Wang Lin's mind suddenly spread out like crazy. In the blink of an eye, all the volcanoes in the area were within his mind. His mind spread out and entered the volcanoes. He fused with the mountains and touched the souls of the mountains. Even more images entered Wang Lin's mind. He saw even more volcanoes collapse and felt even more anger from the mountains. As his origin soul spread out, it gradually spread to all the volcanoes on the planet. At this moment, it was as if he had thousands of avatars, and every one of them was a volcano. This is... An elder of the Rosefinch divine sect suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with doubt, but he immediately looked toward the volcano where Wang Lin was. It's the divine emperor. Although this aura was ancient, as an elder, he was at the Nirvana Shatterer stage, so he was naturally able to recognize it. However, he was extremely shocked. What shocked him was that although this aura was that of a divine emperor, it was completely different from the little cultivator he remembered. Before, Wang Lin was only a Nirvana Scryer cultivator who had cultivated for less than 2,000 years. Although this group of elders had acknowledged Wang Lin on the surface, they were still a bit dissatisfied in their hearts. But now, the vicissitudes contained in this aura made even him feel like a junior in front of it. Terrified, the old man immediately jumped into the air. When he was in midair, he immediately felt that the other 3 elders on the planet had all appeared. The divine senses of the other 3 were filled with shock. It was obvious they felt the same as the old man. At this instant, all the members of the Rosefinch divine sect awakened from their cultivation. They could clearly feel an extremely ancient divine sense sweep by. If this was it, it wouldn't be a big deal. Although the four elders were a bit shocked, it wasn't enough to affect them too much. However, what happened next caused the four of them to gasp. This divine sense swept by and covered the entire planet. All the volcanoes on the planet seemed to awaken and erupted at the same time. The rumbles caused the entire planet to tremble, and the entire world was replaced by this earth-shattering rumble. At this moment, the ancient aura from the divine sense increased greatly. It was as if all the volcanoes had gathered, giving it the feeling of time. The sky was shrouded in black fog, and the earth was flowing with red magma. At this moment, the expressions of the four elders changed greatly. All members of the Rosefinch divine sect immediately leave this planet. A thunderous roar came from one of the old men. The Vermilion Burr divine sect's members flew up one by one, heading straight for the starry sky. The four elders also charged out and took all the members of the Rosefinch divine sect with them. Among the stars, everyone was filled with panic. Most of them didn't even know what had happened. The expressions of the four elders were extremely gloomy. They felt a strong sense of dissatisfaction toward the new divine emperor who had caused all of this. However, just as their dissatisfaction appeared, the divine sense that had covered the entire planet spread out once more. This time, it spread across the stars. It passed by the members of the Rosefinch divine sect and continued to spread across the burning starfield. As this divine sense spread out, another cultivation planet was surrounded and immediately fused with it. The ancient aura became even stronger. Many panicked members of the Rosefinch divine sect flew out from the planet. As the divine sense spread out, all the planets in the starfield fused with it. As it grew stronger, an unimaginably powerful divine sense appeared in the burning starfield. All the members of the Rosefinch divine sect flew out from the planets. Big Head and Company, whom Wang Lin was familiar with, also flew out. At this moment, in the eastern part of the Alliance star system, there was a ripple outside the burning starfield where the Rosefinch divine sect was located, and a person walked out. This person was an old man with a head of white hair and wearing a red robe. If Wang Lin saw him, he would immediately recognize him as Master Flamespark. The moment Master Flamespark appeared, another ripple echoed and another person walked out. The moment this person appeared, a cold aura spread out. It was a middle-aged man wearing a green robe. He looked very handsome, but his face was pale, as if he was dead. However, the cultivation fluctuations coming from his body caused Master Flamespark's pupils to shrink. Luo Tian Master Flamespark. The middle-aged man's cold gaze swept by. Serene, one of the 9 kings. I just don't know which king he is. Master Flamespark's voice was calm, but his eyes were locked on the middle-aged man. He was writing the 3rd chapter. Chapter 1102. In the star domain where the Rosefinch divine sect was located, all the cultivation planets were covered by his divine sense. An ancient aura filled the entire star domain. This shocked all the elders of the Rosefinch divine sect. Even though their cultivations were profound, they couldn't imagine what kind of divine ability the new Saint Emperor was cultivating to actually be able to reach such a shocking level. With their knowledge and cultivation levels, they couldn't understand how powerful Celestial Emperor by Fan's spell was, so it was reasonable that they couldn't understand it. Wang Lin's divine sense originally couldn't cover this far, but at this moment, he had forgotten everything. He had turned into the soul of a volcano and fused with the cultivation planets. Borrowing the power of the planet souls, his divine sense continued to spread, which was why this was happening. In the end, all of this was because a Celestial Emperor by Fan's mountain crumbles. At this moment, Wang Lin's divine sense had gathered all the cultivation planets in the Rosefinch divine sect. As a result, everyone felt that the countless years of age inside this divine sense was enough to make them decay. At this moment, all the members of the Rosefinch divine sect, including the elders, were within Wang Lin's divine sense. They could clearly feel the aura inside this divine sense, and almost every elder was shocked. The dissatisfaction in the hearts of the first 4 elders had long disappeared. They were shocked by the development that followed. If there is no cause, then there is no effect, so there is no karma. If there is no life, then there is no death. Without life and death, there is eternity. If there is no truth, then there is no falsehood. Between truth and falsehood, there is only one thought. An ancient divine sense echoed inside this divine sense and entered everyone's ears. So, it's like this. It's just a thought. No wonder senior brother Shimizu didn't leave any detailed comprehension. If you understand, then you understand. As the divine sense echoed, Wang Lin seemed to awaken. The moment he awakened, the burning starfield began to move. The souls of the cultivation planets spread out, and the volcanoes on them all erupted at this moment. The eruption of all the volcanoes on the planets in the entire star domain immediately caused the rumbling sounds to spread throughout the star domain. It was at this moment that Master Flamespark and the third king of Serene entered the burning star domain. The moment he entered, Serene's third king's eyes lit up in disbelief. With his level of cultivation, he instantly sensed that there was such a powerful divine sense in this galaxy. The strength of this divine sense was earth-shattering. Even he could not help but gasp. In his view, it was as if he wasn't facing a single person, but a cultivation planet that had existed for tens of thousands of years. Even he felt like he was a junior when facing such an ancient aura. Holy Emperor Rosefinch. The first thing that appeared in the middle-aged man's mind was the Rosefinch Divine Emperor he had never seen before. However, he immediately felt like it wasn't the case. From Li Yingji's report, the new Rosefinch Divine Emperor clearly hadn't cultivated for a long time, so it was obvious he couldn't be like this. Could it be the old Rosefinch Divine Emperor? The middle-aged man's pupil shrank, and he became extremely cautious. Master Flamespark's expression also changed when he entered. He immediately felt the shocking divine sense inside the burning star domain. This is... Master Flamespark's eyes were filled with unimaginable shock. In his view, the power of this divine sense couldn't be described with words. It was not something a cultivator could have. The moment he felt this divine sense, Wang Lin naturally felt Master Flamespark and the middle-aged man. His divine sense moved toward the two of them. The moment his divine sense moved, a thunderous rumble echoed across the starfield and flames surged. Master Flamespark. A divine sense message came from the divine sense and echoed across the star domain. Master Flamespark gasped. He was somewhat familiar with this divine sense, and he even had a guess as to what it was. However, right now he couldn't believe his guess, and his expression became serious. You are Rosefinch Divine Emperor. Wang Lin's divine sense slowly spread out and caused the thunder to roar. You're Wang Lin. Master Flamespark's eyes widened, and the shock in his heart was monstrous. Not only him, even the third king of the Serene sect was the same. This must be someone from the Serene sect. Wang Lin's divine sense slowly spread out and stirred the sea of flames around the middle-aged man and Master Flamespark. Old man, the third king of the Serene sect, the middle-aged man said. His expression was calm, and it was impossible to tell if he was happy or angry. However, no matter what, he felt even more dread toward the Rosefinch Divine Sect. He originally intended to come to the Rosefinch Divine Sect to observe, but now there was no need to observe. The middle-aged man clasped his hands and slowly said, A few days ago, my Serene's junior, Li Yingji, brought back a piece of jade. This time the old man came to ask the Divine Emperor where the thing inside the jade is. If the Divine Emperor can tell me, my Serene sect will be eternally grateful. Master Flamespark suppressed the shock in his heart and also clasped his hands. Wang, Rosefinch Divine Emperor, Li Yunzi also brought a piece of jade back to the Thunder Celestial Temple. The old man also wants to know where the thing inside the jade is. As for why Wang Lin's divine sense suddenly became so powerful, with Master Flamespark's cultivation level, he could vaguely see through it. However, to be able to perfectly fuse the souls of all the cultivation planets in the star domain made him feel dread. The mysteriousness of the Rosefinch Divine Sect increased once more in Master Flamespark's heart. I can tell you the place inside the jade, but it is filled with danger. It is up to you to decide whether you want to go or not. As Wang Lin's divine sense echoed, countless specks of light appeared before the middle-aged man and Master Flamespark and formed a star map. This star map clearly showed Suzaku. After flashing for a few breaths of time, it gradually dissipated. Master Flamespark's eyes lit up, and he said, "Suzaku." The middle-aged man faintly smiled and calmly said, "I fear the Divine Emperor has other plans for telling us such important information. Everyone has their own needs. I'm just borrowing a knife to kill the person guarding the corpse." Wang Lin's divine sense spread out. There was no need to hide this matter from Serene and the Luo Tian. None of this was a conspiracy. Good. The Divine Emperor is indeed straightforward. I, Serene, am grateful for this. The middle-aged man was startled. He obviously didn't expect Wang Lin to answer like this. He let out a laugh and looked meaningfully at where Wang Lin's divine sense was coming from. He clasped his hands and left. Master Flamespark pondered a bit. After the middle-aged man left, he revealed a complicated expression and let out a sigh. The old man still underestimated you. I didn't expect. Wang Lin, if we put aside the old man's identity as the Thunder Celestial Temple and your identity as the Rosefinch Divine Emperor, how did the old man treat you in the Luo Tian? Not bad. Wang Lin pondered a bit and sent out a divine sense message. Master Flamespark's eyes narrowed and he asked, Not bad. Wang Lin, the old man just wants to know if what you said in the jade is true, or are you not sure? Senior Flamespark, Wang won't lie to you. What the jade said is absolutely true. Master Flamespark nodded. He didn't speak anymore as he clasped his hands and left the burning starfield. After the two of them left, the divine sense that filled the entire burning stellar realm suddenly collapsed. It turned into countless specks that dissipated into the stellar realm. The parts that belonged to the planet souls immediately returned to the cultivation planets. As the divine sense collapsed, it affected the origin energy of the world. This shocked the members of the Rosefinch divine sect. On the planet Wang Lin was on, the volcanoes had stopped erupting. Inside the largest volcano, Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were very bright, and they were like lightning flashing through the magma. My domain, Wang Lin, first comprehended life and death, then ripples appeared in the magma. At this moment, I borrowed the power of mountain crumbles to see what is true and what is false. With a thought, I completed my karma and broke through from the Nirvana Scryer stage to the Nirvana Cleanser stage. My domain changed from true to false because I comprehended mountain crumbles. True and false are different from illusory and real. They're grandiose. Wang Lin stood up, and with one step, ripples appeared in the magma. At this moment, Wang Lin appeared outside. He looked at the world and revealed a smile. Nirvana Cleanser. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He could clearly feel the difference in his body compared to before. In the past, the amount of fire elemental energy his body could withstand had already reached its limit. But now, with a single move from Wang Lin, the wind and clouds immediately surged, and the fire elemental energy converged and rushed into Wang Lin's body. As the origin energy continued to rush in, Wang Lin grabbed at the air with his right hand. Immediately, a crack appeared in front of him. The crack was not very stable, as if it could collapse at any time. However, boundless yuan power immediately gushed out from Wang Lin's right hand and rushed into the crack. It continued to expand, and as rumbling sounds echoed, the space within the crack grew larger and larger. At the same time, as the yuan power fused into the crack, it became even more stable. In the end, it reached its limit, and it was so stable that it would not easily collapse. There's no need to use the storage pouch anymore. With a smile, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding, causing the items inside to fly out and be sucked into the rift. In the end, the bag of holding was empty, and Wang Lin rubbed it, causing it to transform into dust. With a tap of his right hand, he left Wang Lin's divine sense mark on the crack. Then, with a wave of his hand, the crack closed and disappeared. Just at that moment, Wang Lin's expression suddenly changed. His eyes flashed with coldness, and his entire person became cold. He took a step forward, and when he reappeared, he was already in the starry sky. Not far away from him, a mosquito beast was struggling to fly over. The mosquito was completely purple, but at this moment, it was covered in blood, and its expression was dispirited. It was clearly heavily injured. If it wasn't for the thought of returning to see its master, it would have died long ago. There was a hideous wound on the mosquito beast's back that was constantly emitting green gas. Even its long mouth was broken. The mosquito beast immediately saw Wang Lin. It let out a sad cry and charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's right hand slapped the mosquito beast's back, causing the green gas to dissipate. His left hand reached out and a rift appeared. He took out a large amount of pills and fed them to the mosquito beast. At the same time, his divine sense entered the mosquito beast's head. As he looked through the mosquito beast's memories, Wang Lin's expression became even more gloomy, and a monstrous killing intent erupted from his body. You're all courting death. 3 days to erupt, and there are still 2 days left. Earroot will do his best to write more eruptions. The cold is gone, but my head still hurts, so I can't write very well. I should be fine tomorrow. Those who have monthly votes, please vote for Earroot so that he has the motivation to continue writing for the remaining 2 days. Thank you. Chapter 1103. In the central region of the Alliance star system, in a star system filled with rubble, there were 3 youths in yellow cautiously moving forward. The 3 of them were in a sorry state, and one of them had a wound on his right leg that revealed bone. Although it had been bandaged, there was still blood coming out, making his face extremely pale. The other 2 were also injured, especially the one in the middle who was holding the incense. There was a hole on his right chest that seemed to have been pierced through. Fresh blood flowed out with a gushing sound. This person clenched his teeth and endured, but his body had no choice but to be supported by another person. Behind them was a group of about a dozen giant mosquito beasts. These mosquito beasts were also slightly injured, but it didn't affect their movements. Their red eyes stared at the 3 people in front of them, but their bodies involuntarily followed the burning incense. Damn it, we let that giant mosquito king escape. If we could bring it back to the Cloud Sea, that giant mosquito king could be exchanged for a very precious bottle of Heaven's Blight liquid from the Dark Star sect. The young man with the incense in his hand cursed. He was filled with reluctance. Shut up. That giant mosquito king must have been raised by someone. To be able to make the all-powerful giant mosquito beasts in the Cloud Sea submit, especially the giant mosquito king, this person must be a powerful cultivator of the Alliance star system. The 3 of us must quickly meet up with the elders, or else once that powerful cultivator finds us, the consequences will be unimaginable. The young man with the incense in his hand that had a hole in his chest said in a harsh tone, I didn't expect everything to go smoothly. After leaving the eastern region, the giant mosquito king suddenly began to struggle and caused all the mosquito beasts to resist. If not for the fact that we used up 2 mosquito soul incense sticks, not only would the 3 of us not have been able to lure these giant mosquito beasts away, we would have been buried in their mouths. Unfortunately, the giant mosquito king escaped. However, being able to catch these 19 giant mosquito beasts is enough for the 3 of us to exchange for great benefits. Even in the Heaven Gate sect, our status will be different. The last young man in yellow looked greedily at the dozen mosquito beasts behind him. As the 3 of them flew, they gradually entered the depths of the star system, filled with rubble. There was a faint green light barrier there. After the 3 of them got close, they all slapped their bags of holding and took out jades. They bit the tip of their tongues and spat out blood onto the jades. Suddenly, the 3 jade slips flashed with green light and went straight for the light shield in front of them. When they collided with the light shield, ripples immediately reverberated, and a circular vortex appeared in front of them. The 3 of them didn't stop and charged into the vortex, along with a dozen mosquito beasts behind them. When they reappeared, the 3 of them and the mosquito beast were already inside the light barrier. Here, The three of them were visibly relaxed. The young man holding the incense let out a sigh of relief and said, "It is strange that there are giant mosquito bees from my Cloud C star system in the Alliance star system. Fortunately, there aren't many of them. If it was tens of thousands like in the wind celestial realm." The young man shivered and fear filled his eyes. There is no point in thinking too much about it. The three of us have already investigated the mission given to us by the sect, so it is best to leave as soon as possible. I keep getting this feeling of trepidation. The three of them looked at each other and continued to fly forward. A moment later, a large formation formed by countless rubble appeared before them. Bursts of green light shined on the formation. Outside the formation, there were nearly 100 cultivators in yellow pulling the rubble from the surrounding area and adding it into the formation according to a certain pattern. There were two old men standing above the large formation. They were wearing purple, and although they had white hair, their eyes were like lightning and gave off a sense of majesty. The two of them were talking in low voice and would occasionally point at the formation below. The arrival of the three of them immediately caught the attention of the surrounding cultivators, but they didn't care too much. However, when their gazes fell on the dozen mosquito beasts behind the three of them, their expressions changed greatly. Some of the more timid ones that had a shadow in their hearts about the mosquito beasts exclaimed, giant mosquito beasts." There was an uproar as the nearly 100 cultivators stopped what they were doing and looked at the dozen mosquito beasts in disbelief. The yellow-clothed trio was very proud of these people's performance. When the three of them first saw these mosquito beasts, they were almost the same. Two rays of purple light appeared. It was the two purple-robed old men. The old man in front glanced at the dozen mosquito beasts. Then he looked at the surrounding cultivators and shouted, "What a scandal! Hurry up and set up the formation." The old man's shout immediately caused the surrounding cultivators to scatter and continue with their unfinished work. However, they would occasionally look at the mosquito beasts with greed in their eyes. "Su Xian, what is going on with these giant mosquito beasts?" After the old man finished shouting, he looked at the mosquito beasts once more. His eyes revealed a strange light, and he asked the three youths in yellow. The youth with the injured chest immediately explained the matter. After hesitating a bit, he told them about the incident in the desert and how the giant mosquito king had escaped. After the old man heard this, his expression became gloomy and he looked at the other old man. Their eyes lit up and there was a hint of hesitation in them. If these giant mosquito beasts were ownerless, it would be fine, but that is almost impossible. Can we provoke someone who can raise these giant mosquito beasts? Giant mosquito beasts are very valuable in my Cloud C star system. These beasts often live in groups of hundreds or even thousands. They are very difficult to resist, let alone capture. Even rank 6 sects and above would have to spend a lot of effort to capture them. For my Heaven Gate sect, more than a dozen giant mosquito beasts are a huge fortune. The two of them looked at each other and saw the greed and decisiveness in each other's eyes. With the green light formation, it won't be easy for the Alliance cultivators to come in. Even peak Nirvana Shatterer cultivators would need several days to break the green light formation a rank 8 sect gave to my Heaven Gate sect. After delaying for a bit, we will be able to return to the Cloud Sea. If they chase us into the Cloud Sea, we'll make sure they won't be able to return. Speed up the formation. The two of them reached a consensus. The three young men that brought back the mosquito beasts were filled with excitement. Since the elders had come, then their safety was guaranteed. Once they returned to the sect, they would receive their share of merit and rewards. The young man with the injured leg smiled proudly. Now I want to see the owner of the mosquito beast come. I want to see how he will break the green light formation and how he will watch us leave with his mosquito beasts." At this moment, the owner of the mosquito beasts, Wang Lin, raised his right hand from the head of the mosquito beasts. His eyes were cold, and his expression was extremely cold. If anyone familiar with Wang Lin saw Wang Lin's expression, they would immediately know that he was angry. Wang Lin had his own principles. If others didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. If it wasn't for the fact that the two Sun would fight him to the death after escaping, Wang Lin wouldn't have schemed against him. His mosquito beasts hadn't provoked Wang Lin at all, but they had been lured away and seriously injured. This had touched Wang Lin's bottom line. Wang Lin clenched his right hand and looked up at the sky. When he reached the Nirvana cleanser stage, he vaguely felt the power of divine retribution. However, he was inside the Rosefinch divine sect. If divine retribution descended, it would cause unimaginable damage to the Rosefinch divine sect. Even if someone helped him resist it, the current Wang Lin didn't need help. He wanted to witness the strength of his own thunder and fire during this divine retribution. If it was before, it would be impossible for Wang Lin to delay the arrival of divine retribution. However, after learning the number 1 spell of the Rosefinch divine sect, the 9 mysterious transformations, he could. Therefore, the moment he reached the Nirvana cleanser stage, he used the 9 mysterious transformations to seal himself so that his cultivation level was at the edge of the Nirvana cleanser stage, and he could faintly resist the divine retribution. Wang Lin knew that as long as he willed it, his cultivation level would immediately reach the Nirvana cleanser stage. At that time, the divine retribution would quickly descend. He originally planned to leave the Rosefinch divine sect and find a remote place to quietly resist the divine retribution. However, the appearance of the mosquito beast made Wang Lin change his mind. He waved his right hand and put the seriously injured mosquito beast back into the spatial rift. Then Wang Lin stepped forward based on the path the mosquito beast had memorized. With this step, ripples appeared before Wang Lin, and he disappeared without a trace. Spatial bending. On the eastern edge of the Alliance star system, a distortion 1,000 feet wide appeared in the endless space. Waves of ripples spread in all directions, as if a stone had been thrown into water and caused ripples. At the center of the ripples, the white-haired Wang Lin walked out with a cold, killing intent. The surroundings were completely silent. Wang Lin looked around. Not far away was the battle between the mosquito beast and the 3 cultivators in yellow. His eyes were filled with killing intent as Wang Lin moved forward. He turned into a ray of light and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Bursts of thunder came from the stars. Wang Lin's speed was too fast and caused sonic booms. His robe was as white as snow as his right hand reached at the void and the seriously injured mosquito beast flew out. Wang Lin's pills were all celestial pills, so they were very effective. After devouring them, the mosquito beast felt a bit more spirited and its wounds stopped bleeding. The moment the mosquito beast appeared, its eyes revealed a cold gaze similar to Wang Lin's. It stared ahead and let out bursts of ear-piercing hisses. It was obvious that it was very unwilling. If not for that strange incense, the king of mosquito beasts and more than 10 mosquito beasts would have been seriously injured by 3 little cultivators, and its subordinates would have been captured. This was something that had never happened to it since it followed Wang Lin. Now that its master was beside it, the mosquito beast immediately became spirited. It chose a direction and flew forward. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. With the mosquito beast following the aura of its companions, he stepped forward. The anger in his heart was monstrous, and as he moved forward, countless miniature volcanoes appeared around him. Writing, asking for monthly votes. Chapter 1104. The moment these illusory volcanoes appeared, origin energy gathered like crazy. As the volcanoes continued to appear, it was as if there were volcanoes following Wang Lin. If an outsider saw this scene, even if they were in the starry sky, they would gasp and reveal shock in their eyes. The reason was that these volcanoes were too real. At first glance, it was obvious that they were fake, but if one took a second look, they would feel like they were inside the volcanoes. This feeling of being real was enough to affect one's mind. This difference between real and fake was enough to shake any cultivator below the Nirvana Shatterer realm. Even Nirvana Shatterer cultivators would be affected. After all, this was the first of Celestial Emperor by Fan's last 3 spells. Mountain Crumble. The anger in Wang Lin's heart manifested itself as the Mountain Crumble. He followed the Mosquito King, and there was a unique aura among the Mosquito King that only members of the same clan could detect. At this moment, the Mosquito King had a ferocious expression. It could feel the aura of its own clan here, so it didn't need to look carefully to detect it. Just like this, one person and one beast rapidly moved through the stars. Half an incense stick of time later, Wang Lin frowned. The Mosquito King was injured, so it was a bit slow. At this speed, it was unknown how long it would take to find the person who stole the Mosquito King. Moreover, Wang Lin gradually felt that the divine retribution was getting closer and closer. It was as if the cultivation sealed by the 9 mysterious transformations was loosening. After all, this was the outside world. It wasn't like the star system where the Rosefinch Divine Sect was, which was constantly burning and only had fire origin energy. The origin energy here was extremely impure. As a result, as Wang Lin moved forward, even though his cultivation was sealed, a large amount of origin energy still entered his body and transformed his meridians. Nirvana Cleanser cultivators' bodies would be transformed by origin energy to make them more suitable for comprehending laws. While pondering, Wang Lin waved his right hand, and a 5-foot-wide rift appeared before him. This rift wasn't static, but as Wang Lin moved forward, it moved at the same speed. It was like a small boat gliding on the surface of the sea. It looked very strange. Wang Lin's right hand reached into the rift and took out a yellow talisman. With a thought, the 5-foot-wide rift shrank and disappeared. Holding the yellow talisman, he threw it at the mosquito beast. The mosquito beast trembled, and a whirlwind appeared from its body. It charged into the sky. This whirlwind was brown in color, and as it continued to spin, the sound of the wind howling echoed in the galaxy. At the same time, a large bird appeared above the whirlwind. It spread its wings, and the mosquito let out a heaven-shaking roar. It charged out at a speed that was countless times faster than lightning. As a result, the mosquito beast's speed had reached its peak. The moment it charged out, Wang Lin jumped onto the mosquito beast. The mosquito beast was very fast, and Wang Lin only felt like the stars before him had formed a long line that flowed past him. This was the speed of a Nirvana Shatterer, cultivator. The mosquito beast had never had this kind of speed before. Now that it had obtained it, it let out a roar, but it didn't feel any discomfort as it flew through space. A group of cultivators from the Alliance received the order to retreat from the battlefield. They transformed into beams of light as they flew forward. Suddenly, they sensed a gust of wind blowing past them, and a whistling sound reverberated through the air. The wind was too ferocious, and it immediately scattered them. One by one, they retreated in shock. What is this? It wasn't until this moment that they heard the roar of the mosquito beast. It was obvious that the speed of the roar was far slower than the speed of the mosquito beast. The cultivators' faces flickered with shock. After exchanging glances, they began to make their way off into the distance. With the mosquito beast's speed, it continued to search for the aura of its own clan members. It didn't take long for it to arrive in the shattered star system. Even in the central region of the Alliance, this was a very remote place. There were very few planets around, and even if there were, they were uninhabited, abandoned planets. As a result, almost no cultivators would come here. Seeing the rubble in front of it, the mosquito beast's roar became even more sharp and filled with boundless anger. It directly charged into the rubble, causing a series of banging sounds to ring out. The rubble in front of it was shattered by the mosquito beast. The mosquito beast charged straight in as if it had gone crazy. A series of popping sounds echoed as it charged into the depths of the shattered rocks. In the depths of the shattered rocks, the formation formed by the nearly 100 cultivators was almost finished. The 2 old men in purple were filled with excitement. Once the formation was completed, they would be able to take the giant mosquito beast back to the Cloud Sea with peace of mind. At that time, their Heaven Gate sect would obtain great benefits for these giant mosquito beasts. The 2 of them were in a good mood and chatted with each other in low voices. Their previous worries were all gone now that the formation was about to be completed. However, at this moment, The dozen mosquito beasts that they had sealed not far away, which were originally very quiet under the burning incense sticks, suddenly began to hiss. It wasn't just one mosquito that was roaring, but all of the mosquito beasts had red eyes. They roared at the same time and showed signs of struggling. This change immediately caught the attention of the two old men in purple. The cultivators that were forming the formation also looked over. The mosquito beasts seemed to have gone crazy and were trying to break out of the incense sticks. One of the old men in purple said, "Something's wrong." The old man beside him was about to speak, but his expression changed, and he suddenly turned around. An earth-shattering roar suddenly came from the periphery of the green light formation in the distance. At this moment, the green light flashed, causing the surroundings to flicker. The two old men's expressions immediately became gloomy. They rushed forward, and before they even got close, they immediately heard a series of screeches coming from outside the green light formation. The moment this roar entered the formation, the expressions of the three young men that brought back the mosquito beasts immediately changed. They could tell that this roar was from the Mosquito King that had escaped. "It really chased us here. Now that the elders are here, perhaps we can capture this Mosquito King." The three of them looked at each other and immediately flew forward. Outside the azure light formation, the mosquito beast was moving at an unimaginable speed. It was filled with anger as it directly collided with the azure light barrier in the depths of the gravel formation. A rumbling sound rose into the sky and echoed in all directions. However, the green light barrier seemed to be extremely tough. Under the impact of the mosquito beast attack, the green light barrier didn't move at all. Instead, the mosquito beast was bounced back thousands of feet. If it wasn't for Wang Lin cushioning the impact, the mosquito beast would have been seriously injured again. Filled with unwillingness, the mosquito beast's eyes were filled with bloodthirsty killing intent, and it continued to roar. Wang Lin stood on the side and stared at the green light barrier with an extremely cold expression. He took a step forward and closed in on the green light barrier. He waved his right hand, and the fire origin energy in his body surged out. A sea of fire surrounded the green light barrier. Bursts of burning echoed, but the green light barrier didn't dissipate at all. "You overestimate yourself." A sneer came from inside the green light barrier. The two old men in purple had already closed in. They looked at Wang Lin with disdain through the green light barrier. The two of them were originally nervous, but when they saw Wang Lin's cultivation level, they immediately relaxed. These two old men weren't at the Nirvana Shatterer stage. They weren't even at the peak of the Nirvana Cleanser stage. They were only at the late stage of Nirvana Cleanser. After all, they weren't the real messengers from the Cloud Sea Star system. They had snuck in through a special method. Wang Lin waved his right hand, and the sea of fire retreated from the green light barrier. His gloomy gaze penetrated the green light barrier and landed on the two old men. Wang Lin's voice was gloomy as he slowly said, "Hand over the remaining mosquito beasts and those three daring juniors, and I'll spare your lives." The two old men immediately laughed. One of them revealed a look of mockery and said, "I can't believe there is such an arrogant person in the Alliance Star system. With your cultivation level, you dare to threaten the two of us? This is simply absurd." Although the two of them looked down on Wang Lin, they were extremely cautious and didn't step out of the green light barrier. In their view, the person before them wasn't the master of the giant mosquito beast and was likely its disciple. His purpose was to lure the two of them out. There must be a powerful cultivator hiding outside the green light barrier. Although they hadn't found anything with their divine senses, the more it was like this, the more suspicious they became. Wang Lin no longer wasted time and raised his right hand to point at the stars. He took a deep breath, and the 9 mysterious transformations seal in his body erupted. At this instant, the aura of a Nirvana Cleanser cultivator spread out like crazy from Wang Lin's body. A large amount of origin energy rushed toward him. As dense origin energy rushed into Wang Lin's body, popping sounds came from Wang Lin's body. At the same time, a powerful force slowly gathered among the stars. Above the Shatterstone starfield, a tribulation cloud appeared without a sound. In an instant, the tribulation cloud connected and almost covered the entire Shatterstone starfield. At the same time, the might of the world suddenly descended from the star domain. It instantly enveloped the surroundings and forcefully separated the star domain of shattered star domain. This is divine retribution. The eyes of the two old men in purple widened and were filled with disbelief. There was even a flash of fear in their eyes. Even though they were Nirvana cleanser cultivators, they didn't know much about divine retribution. The reason they were able to recognize it was because they had personally witnessed a divine retribution in the Cloud C star system before coming to the Alliance star system. I'm writing the third chapter. I'm looking for monthly votes. Chapter 1105. The tribulation clouds above shattered rock gathered like crazy. They were countless times faster than the ones Wang Lin had encountered in the past. In the blink of an eye, the tribulation clouds that almost covered the entire starry sky appeared. A thunderous roar that could shake the entire starry sky rang out. A bolt of red lightning suddenly shot out from the center of the tribulation clouds. This red lightning bolt was as thick as a bucket, and as it descended, all the rocks in its path collapsed. Even space itself began to crack under this red lightning bolt, as if it was about to shatter. This red lightning bolt was too fast. The two purple-robed old men inside the green light barrier saw a bolt of red lightning descending from the sky. Their hearts trembled as the red lightning bolt shot toward Wang Lin. One of the purple-robed old men muttered to himself, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. This person is actually using some unknown method to attract divine retribution right in front of us. The red lightning bolt gave off a shocking aura and created ripples as it landed on top of Wang Lin's head. Wang Lin's expression remained the same without any change. The moment the red lightning bolt landed, he raised his right hand and mercilessly squeezed it. In an instant, the shocking lightning bolt collapsed under Wang Lin's squeeze. It turned into countless arcs of red lightning that scattered around Wang Lin. This scene caused the two purple-robed old men to gasp. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. At this moment, the three yellow-robed young men arrived behind them. When they saw Wang Lin crush the red lightning bolt, their scalps went numb and they were almost scared out of their wits. One of them trembled and the fear in his eyes reached an extreme. Wang Lin's expression was still cold. This bit of divine retribution lightning was simply insignificant to him. He easily crushed the first bolt of lightning and waved his right hand. The surrounding arcs of red lightning moved as if they were being controlled and quickly gathered in Wang Lin's right hand. In the blink of an eye, a red light appeared on Wang Lin's right hand. There was a bolt of lightning that rumbled as it moved. Wang Lin coldly looked at the people inside the green light barrier. Just when they felt that something was wrong, he threw the red light at the green light barrier. With a bang, the red light turned into red lightning and landed on the green light barrier. The entire green light barrier trembled violently, causing the two purple-robed old men to turn pale. He is definitely not an ordinary cultivator. The strength of the green light barrier exceeded Wang Lin's expectations. Not even one bolt of lightning could shake it. If one bolt isn't enough, then 10. If 10 isn't enough, then 100. There was a flash of killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes. Just at this moment, the divine retribution clouds churned once more. Thunderous rumbles echoed as another bolt of red lightning descended. This time, it wasn't just one bolt. Behind it, more red lightning appeared. They seemed to connect together. A total of 9 bolts of red lightning descended toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was the same as usual, but there was a hint of madness in his eyes. He laughed and leaped into the air. Not only did he not dodge, but he charged toward the 9 bolts of lightning. At the same time, a vortex appeared between Wang Lin's eyebrows. The ancient thunder dragon origin soul charged out and let out a roar at the 9 bolts of lightning. The roar of the thunder dragon caused all lightning in the world to listen to its command. However, only Wang Lin's thunder dragon origin soul dared to roar at the divine retribution thunder. The 9 bolts of divine retribution thunder paused before the thunder dragon's roar. Wang Lin let out a laugh as he charged into the 9 bolts of divine retribution thunder. Thunder flashed in his left eye as if it had endless suction force, causing the 9 bolts of divine retribution thunder to gather in Wang Lin's left eye. Thunderous rumbles continued as the bolts of lightning entered Wang Lin's left eye one by one before dissipating. At this moment, the lightning in Wang Lin's left eye was extremely dense, and crackling sounds could be heard. Some of the lightning even surrounded his body, making him look like a thunder celestial. At this moment, Wang Lin raised his head to look at the divine retribution clouds and roared, "Is this all you got?" At this moment, he had no idea what kind of impact devouring the divine retribution clouds had on the people inside the green light barrier. The 3 cultivators in yellow were terrified. Not even in their dreams would they have thought that they had provoked such a terrifying opponent. Devour. Devour the divine retribution clouds. The faces of the 2 old men in purple became even paler. At this moment, they no longer had the arrogance they had before. Their gazes toward Wang Lin were filled with shock and disbelief. In their opinion, this white-haired young man before them must have been hiding his cultivation. Devouring the 9 bolts of lightning caused cold sweat to appear on their foreheads. One of them turned around and roared, "Quickly! Set up the formation, quickly!" Although the 100 or so cultivators in the distance hadn't arrived, they could still see what was happening in the starry sky. They were all shocked by the old man's roar, and they all sucked in breaths of cold air. Filled with panic, they quickly began to set up the spell formation. The 2 purple-robed elders also hurried back. They actually disregarded their status and personally joined in the construction of the formation. "Quick! We must be quick! We have to leave this damn Alliance Star system as soon as possible." How can there be someone like this in the Alliance Star system? He can devour divine retribution clouds. The divine retribution clouds gathered once more, and a powerful pressure spread out. In a flash, a bolt of purple lightning 100 feet wide descended. It was very powerful, and the moment it appeared, it broke through space and charged into the void. However, when it was 3 inches away from Wang Lin, it pierced through space and charged toward the spot between Wang Lin's eyebrows. Wang Lin let out a roar, but he didn't retreat half a step. Instead, he raised his arms as if he was hugging the bolt of purple lightning. No matter how the thunderous rumbles echoed, Wang Lin's body didn't move at all. Large amounts of lightning surrounded Wang Lin, creating popping sounds. This wasn't the end. The divine retribution seemed to become angry, and bolts of purple lightning continued to descend before Wang Lin. The ball of lightning before Wang Lin gradually became larger and larger until it was almost 1,000 feet wide. Wang Lin's body also gradually retreated under the rumbling thunder, but there was a hint of madness in his eyes. More! Wang Lin roared at the sky. With a loud bang, the tribulation cloud that covered more than hundreds of thousands of miles suddenly let out a roar that sounded like a human's voice. At the same time, a bolt of 7-colored lightning suddenly descended. As soon as the 7-colored lightning appeared, it immediately turned into 7 bolts of lightning of various colors. With an unimaginable heavenly might, they shot straight at Wang Lin. Under the rumbling sounds, Wang Lin's body retreated again. The ball of thunder in front of him had already reached 1,000 feet in size. The power of thunder within it was unimaginable. Even though Wang Lin could control the thunder of heaven and earth, he couldn't withstand it at this moment. The boundless tribulation cloud once again surged, and the 7-colored light flashed. Wang Lin's body flickered, and the ball of lightning in front of him immediately rushed down. The people inside the green light shield below exclaimed and trembled as Wang Lin threw it down. This ball of lightning contained countless bolts of lightning. Its power was enough to shake the heavens and earth. At this moment, under Wang Lin's control, it went straight down towards the green light shield below. The 2 old men in purple inside the green light shield were pale, and their pupils constantly shrank. Activate the formation. One of the old men immediately roared, even though the formation wasn't completely formed yet. But at this moment, no one objected. The nearly 100 cultivators immediately sat down and formed seals with their hands. As for the two old men in purple, the moment the terrifying ball of lightning descended, they sat down. Their divine senses entered the green light shield in an attempt to increase its power. Almost at the instant their souls fused into the azure light barrier, the ball of lightning descended and smashed into the barrier. A deafening rumble rang out, and a wave of impact surrounded the entire barrier. Endless bolts of lightning landed on the green light barrier, causing it to instantly dim. The two old men in purple coughed out blood at the same time, and their eyes were filled with fear. One of the old men's body collapsed with a bang, and his origin soul flew out. He let out a scream and charged at the formation that was opening. Countless bolts of thunder penetrated the green light shield and moved like crazy inside like dragons. More than a dozen of the cultivators that were activating the formation were touched by the lightning dragons. Their bodies were instantly charred, and even their origin souls couldn't escape. They immediately died. Under the bombardment of a lightning ball that contained far too much heavenly lightning, the azure light formation suddenly collapsed and turned into countless fragments that scattered. There was also a huge shockwave that spread out in all directions in a frenzy in the form of a ring. The mosquito beast saw that the situation was bad and immediately flew away. It was very fast, so there was no need to worry about danger. However, all the rubble in the starfield turned to dust when the green light shield collapsed. In the blink of an eye, the entire starfield disappeared. Aside from the central area, there was not a single piece of rubble left. Wang Lin charged out, filled with killing intent and anger from the mosquito beast being seriously injured. At this moment, the divine retribution clouds also moved. More than 100 bolts of seven-colored lightning descended from the clouds and chased after Wang Lin. After the seven-colored lightning, heavenly fire descended. This was the first time a fire divine retribution had appeared, and it descended while burning. Just at this moment, the formation formed by the rubble was finally activated. The starlight began to shine as it slowly rotated, and a powerful aura began to spread out. The seriously injured old man in purple struggled to fly out after his companion's origin soul. As long as they entered the formation, the two of them could live. The two of them already felt fear toward Wang Lin from the bottom of their hearts. Seeing that the formation had opened and the nearby cultivators were about to be teleported out, Wang Lin wouldn't allow them to escape. His eyes lit up and a monstrous wave appeared in space. A force that seemed like it could collapse space suddenly appeared around Wang Lin. At this moment, illusionary volcanoes appeared around Wang Lin. Waves of heat surrounded him, and muffled roars came from the volcanoes. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with killing intent, and he softly said, "Landslide," begging for monthly votes. Chapter 1106. Celestial Spell, Mountain Crumble. The moment Wang Lin spoke, the countless illusory volcanoes around Wang Lin began to overlap. As the illusory volcanoes overlapped, the countless illusory mountains fused into one. Then a majestic mountain suddenly appeared before Wang Lin. It formed a real mountain that was almost no different from the real thing. This mountain was more than 10,000 feet tall. Although it wasn't big compared to the stars, it was like a behemoth before everyone. A powerful pressure immediately filled the world. The instant the mountain appeared, violent ripples appeared in the starry sky, as if it was trembling. There was no need to even mention the spell formation formed by the crushed stones. Large amounts of them collapsed with a loud bang. With one mountain crumble, the mountain trembled and the top of the mountain exploded. Countless rubble scattered in all directions. At the same time, a large amount of black smoke spewed out and filled the starry sky. At the same time, a dark red flame sprayed out from the mountain. The temperature of the flames was so high that they could wipe out all living things. When they were spat out, the flames turned into huge rocks that emitted black smoke and smashed down from the starry sky. Several of the cultivators from the cloud sea let out miserable screams as the boulders smashed into them. Their bodies turned to mush and flames burned their bodies. Their origin souls were instantly refined. The black smoke that came out from the mountain contained a large amount of fire poison. The black smoke turned to dust and spread out. At this moment, it was as if the end of the world had arrived. It was terrifying. A cultivator who was half a step into the formation was about to leave with a face filled with panic and nightmarish fear. However, he was immediately hit by the fire poison. Before he could leave, he let out a miserable scream and his body collapsed in a black gas. Even his origin soul was burned to death. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the void. Even the seven-colored heavenly lightning rumbled prematurely under the impact of the black smoke and flames, producing a series of heaven-shaking rumbles. Some of the weaker cultivators were able to dodge the falling boulders and the poisonous smoke, but their origin souls were shattered by the deafening thunder. They coughed out blood, and their eyes dimmed. In the end, they died. A mournful cry echoed. However, this was not the end. The mountain that was spewing black smoke and flames trembled once again. Waves of magma spread down from the top of the mountain. Immediately, the starry sky was filled with endless heat and an aura that could destroy everything in the world. The magma spread out. 7 or 8 cultivators were too close and were about to escape. However, 2 of them were hit by the fire poison and died in pain. There was even a person who was hit by a boulder that fell from the sky. His entire body immediately turned into a puddle of blood. However, under the high temperature, the blood almost immediately evaporated as soon as it spread. They were lucky. Although they couldn't escape death, their pain was much less than the remaining 4. The last 4 people were slightly slower. Before they could even fly out, they were immediately hit by a wave of magma. Almost at the instant the magma flowed past their bodies immediately burned and dissipated, leaving only their pitch-black skeletons that were still in the same position as they charged forward. These skeletons only lasted for half a breath before turning to dust. As for their origin souls, they were burned into nothingness by the wave of magma. The ones who suffered the most were those with higher cultivation. They didn't die in the first wave of magma, but they couldn't escape. They could only struggle in the magma. Even though they used spells and treasures, they couldn't escape this calamity. In the distance, the mosquito beasts used their extreme speed to quickly return. There was a flash of coldness in their eyes as they closed in on mountain crumbles and charged toward their companions. This place had lost all the sealing power from Wang Lin's mountain crumbles, and the dozen or so mosquito beasts didn't have any flames closing in. Seeing the Mosquito King arrive, these mosquito beasts immediately let out a roar and followed the Mosquito King. They formed an army of mosquito beasts and charged inside mountain crumbles. Wang Lin's mosquito beasts were the most vengeful, and they charged at a cultivator in yellow who was panicking. This person was one of the 3 people that led the mosquito beasts away, the young man with the injured leg. He had just avoided a boulder when he felt a gust of wind behind him. He turned around and saw the mosquito beasts. His expression changed greatly, and he wanted to retreat, but he was too late. A group of mosquito beasts rushed at him and tore his body apart. This group of mosquito beasts tasted blood and became even more crazy. Under the leadership of the Mosquito King, they continued to seek revenge on the other 2. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Under the power of mountain crumbles, there were no injuries, only death. The origin soul of the old man in purple who had lost his body was filled with fear. He avoided the boulder and the poisonous fire dust and clenched his teeth as he charged toward the formation. The other old man in purple also avoided the poisonous fire dust with a pale face. He ignored the lives of his disciples and charged toward the formation. At this moment, his heart was filled with fear and regret. He regretted being greedy and hated his 3 disciples for stealing the giant mosquito beasts and causing a disaster for him. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. He had no pity for these people. They dared to have ideas about the mosquito beasts, so they had to pay the price. He pushed his hands up and shouted, "Mountain, first crumble!" After Wang Lin spoke, the mountain trembled once more and a large amount of rubble fell from the top of the mountain. The rubble fused with the magma, and at the same time, the magma suddenly rushed into the sky. As it rushed into the sky, it created an unimaginable impact that spread across the stars. Some of the remaining cultivators were touched by the magma, and they let out miserable screams as they turned to ashes and dissipated. The origin soul in purple had just closed in on the center of the formation when it was hit by the first strike of landslide. In the blink of an eye, countless cracks appeared on the already broken formation, and rays of piercing light flashed within 100,000 feet. As the magma rushed into the sky, the formation could no longer withstand the destructive power and collapsed with a bang. The 100,000 feet light inside the formation flickered violently and quickly spread out in all directions. As thunderous rumbles echoed, the formation shattered inch by inch and completely collapsed. No! Despair filled the old man's eyes. He could not help but tremble, and he stopped in outer space. However, it was this momentary pause that allowed a burning rock to fall, smashing into the old man's soul. The old man coughed out a mouthful of nascent divinity aura and took a few steps back. His entire nascent divinity had started burning, but the danger was not over. At the instant he retreated, the poisonous fire dust swept through the area and turned into a dust storm around him. As shrill cries rose in space, the old man used some unknown divine ability to rush out of the poisonous fire dust storm. At this moment, his entire body was covered in raging flames. His origin soul was dim, as if it could dissipate at any time. Countless pustules that looked like the skin of a toad had appeared on his origin soul, and they were filled with fire poison. There were even flames burning inside his origin soul, causing the old man to roar in pain as he retreated. He suddenly raised his head and stared at Wang Lin with madness in his eyes. "Even if the old man dies, I'll die with you." The old man roared and rushed out toward Wang Lin. At this moment, his origin soul was about to self-destruct. Waves of origin energy spread out from the old man's origin soul, forming a violent wall that rushed toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained the same. The moment the old man's origin soul closed in, he raised his right hand and pointed forward. The celestial spiritual energy in his body moved and spread out from his right hand. "Stop!" Wang Lin's voice was cold, but the moment he said that word, the old man's origin soul immediately paused in space. The old man's cultivation level was higher than Wang Lin's, so the moment he used the stop spell, Wang Lin activated the fire origin energy in his body to suppress the backlash. He waved his right hand, and the soul lasher immediately appeared. It charged at the old man like a dragon, but there was a crisp snap. The aura of self-destruction in the old man's origin soul was immediately dissipated by the soul lasher. Popping sounds echoed, and the old man's origin soul let out miserable screams. The madness in his eyes was gone and was replaced with fear. Just as he was about to retreat, the soul lasher pulled him toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin grabbed him and threw him into the storage space. It was as if he was being devoured by the storage space. All of his actions were as smooth as flowing water, and he didn't pause in the slightest. It caused the other purple-robed old man's body to tremble before he turned around and fled. How could Wang Lin let him escape? He chased after him and pointed at the sky with his right hand. He shouted, "Stop!" Second collapse. One mountain, two collapses was the limit of Wang Lin's mountain crumbles. Compared to Shimizu's 6 mountains, 12 collapses, there was a big gap. Shimizu's mountain crumbles could destroy a realm. Although Wang Lin couldn't do it, he could destroy these cultivators. If there was no divine retribution, Wang Lin wouldn't have come alone. However, with divine retribution, forget these two old men who were only at the late stage of Nirvana Cleanser. Even if they were Nirvana Shatterer cultivators, Wang Lin would dare to fight them with divine retribution. The entire star system trembled violently under the second collapse. The giant mountain trembled and rumbled. The mountain really collapsed. Not only did the mountain collapse, But the mountain soul formed by Wang Lin's will and celestial spiritual energy also collapsed into countless burning rocks. Endless magma and fire-poison powder sprayed out and covered the entire star system. If this was it, it wouldn't be a big deal, but under Wang Lin's will, the burning rocks, magma, and fire-poison powder formed a burning river with a wave of Wang Lin's right hand. At this moment, Wang Lin was like an indomitable god. His white hair fluttered, and his cold face was filled with killing intent. Writing the second chapter, asking for monthly votes. Chapter 1107. All the Cloud Sea cultivators on the ground had collapsed along with the formation. Only the old man in purple was affected by the second collapse. He coughed out blood and desperately tried to escape. He was afraid. His heart was trembling. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he waved his right hand. The river of fire around him shot toward the old man. Wang Lin no longer looked at the old man. As he looked up, the divine retribution clouds churned, and a large amount of fire divine retribution descended. Fire! Wang Lin's expression was calm, and he revealed a smile. As the heavenly fire closed in, Wang Lin pointed at it. In an instant, there was a flash of fire in his left eye, and a red armor appeared on his body. From a distance, it looked like Wang Lin was wearing fire. A white cloak hung behind him, complementing his white hair. There was also a white vermilion bird totem on his crimson-red armor. Wang Lin charged out toward the heavenly fire. In an instant, he charged into the heavenly fire. The endless sea of fire closed in on him and was immediately absorbed by Wang Lin's armor. The rosefinch totem appeared and turned into a rosefinch. The heavenly fire seemed to be dancing as the vermilion bird spun, forming a vortex that moved with it. This fire divine retribution was something Wang Lin could withstand. He looked up at the sky with a hint of challenge in his eyes. Wang Lin had faced many divine retributions in his life, and each time he had been in a sorry state. He had even almost died, but he had never given up. Now that he had mastered the power of fire and thunder, the heaven-defying heart that had been suppressed in Wang Lin's heart for 1,000 years was ignited once more. Divine retribution was a manifestation of the heavens. If you wanted to defy the heavens, you had to defy divine retribution first. A thunderous rumble came from the divine retribution clouds when Wang Lin's challenging gaze appeared. It was as if the heavens might have been damaged. The divine retribution clouds churned violently, and the heavens might descended. This wasn't the first time this heavens might had appeared. Wang Lin had experienced it twice before. Under the heavens might, anything that resisted would be destroyed. However, not only did Wang Lin not retreat, he began to laugh. Thunder divine retribution, fire divine retribution, illusion divine retribution, might divine retribution. Is there nothing else besides these four? Wang Lin looked up at the sky. He didn't move at all under the pressure of the heavens' might. After he spoke, the heavens seemed to have a spirit, and the pressure increased more than 100 times. The space around Wang Lin began to distort, as if there was an unimaginable force tearing it apart. Wang Lin's body was forced down several dozen feet by this pressure. Cracking sounds came from the armor on his body, but his head was still raised. He swung his right hand behind him, and the burning river that had surrounded the purple-robed old man and caused his body to collapse immediately swept up the old man's origin soul and rushed over. The old man from the Cloud Sea was too seriously injured. The divine retribution thunderball had the power to collapse his body, but he had suppressed it by force. Then the mountain crumbles descended, causing his injuries to become even more serious. His cultivation level fell greatly until he was only at the early stage of Nirvana Cleanser. At this moment, being surrounded by the burning river, his origin soul immediately dimmed. However, just as the river closed in on Wang Lin, the old man's eyes suddenly shrank. His origin soul exploded like crazy, forming a shockwave that charged at Wang Lin. Die for me! The old man let out a roar for the last time in his life. His powerful killing intent closed in on Wang Lin. Wang Lin let out a cold snort as his right hand formed a palm and slammed down on the origin soul. All the origin energy gathered like crazy and formed a giant palm print before Wang Lin. It shot toward the old man's origin soul. The old man's expression changed greatly, and he exclaimed, "This is the rank 9 God Sex War Spirit print." The moment the old man spoke, the gigantic palm print whistled past him and pushed his origin soul back. It collided with the burning river behind him. A thunderous rumble echoed, and the old man's origin soul immediately collapsed. Wang Lin didn't have time to think about the old man's dying words. His hands formed a seal, and he pointed at the burning river. The burning river rushed toward Wang Lin and condensed into a new mountain. However, this mountain was filled with cracks, and red flames came out of the cracks, illuminating the surroundings. At this moment, the heaven's might became even stronger and continued to press down. Wang Lin's face turned slightly red, and he laughed like crazy. He pushed his hands up and roared, "Mountain collapses heaven." The giant mountain above Wang Lin shot up into the sky. It was so fast that it created a sharp whistling sound. Wang Lin's body flickered, and he immediately rushed up. His right hand pressed down on the bottom of the mountain, as if he was holding it up as he charged into the divine retribution clouds. As the whistling sound echoed, the pressure from the heavens became even stronger, becoming thousands of times stronger. The mountain above Wang Lin began to collapse on a large scale, as if it couldn't withstand the pressure of the heaven's might, and turned to dust. However, Wang Lin didn't stop and moved even faster. He let out a roar and pushed the mountain into the sky, quickly closing the distance between him and the divine retribution clouds. He was getting closer and closer. Wang Lin's hair fluttered, and his armor continued to crackle, as if it couldn't withstand the pressure. The sound of bones rubbing could be heard from his body, causing the veins on Wang Lin's face to bulge. However, Wang Lin didn't care about any of this. What he wanted was a heaven-defying will. After so many confrontations with divine retribution, if he remained passive, it wouldn't be in line with his personality. This time, Wang Lin was going to counterattack. As they got closer, the mountain began to collapse on a large scale. Countless rubble dissipated. In the end, all the rubble on the mountain had disintegrated, turning into ashes and dissipating. However, even though the mountain had collapsed, the mountain soul was still there. After losing all the rubble, what Wang Lin was carrying was a giant mountain of flames. Rather than calling it a mountain, it was more accurate to call it a mountain-shaped crimson flame. At this moment, Wang Lin was less than 100,000 feet away from the divine retribution clouds. Under the frenzied impact, the might of the heavens increased once more. This time, the increase didn't stop at all. As a result, cracks appeared in the starry sky. Numerous spatial cracks appeared, emitting an endless amount of cold air. Even a mountain of flames that Wang Lin was carrying dimmed, as if it was about to be extinguished by the heaven's might. Wang Lin let out a roar and fiercely threw his hands forward. The origin energy in his body rushed out and turned into a force that pushed the mountain of flames even faster towards the divine retribution clouds. 100,000 feet, 90,000 feet, 80,000 feet, 50,000 feet. The moment the mountain of flames was 50,000 feet away from the divine retribution clouds, a roar came from the divine retribution clouds. In the end, the mountain of flames didn't succeed and disappeared without a trace. Without the mountain of flames, the heaven's might was unobstructed and pressed down on Wang Lin. Wang Lin revealed a look of unwillingness. There was only 50,000 feet left. After this 50,000 feet, he would be able to smash the divine retribution clouds. The moment the pressure closed in, the flames in Wang Lin's left eye burned and the thunder in his right eye moved. He opened his arms, and the thunder in his right eye moved to his right arm. A ball of thunder the size of a fist appeared in his right hand. At the same time, the flames in his left eye moved along his left arm and condensed into a white ball of fire. Thunder of the heavens and earth, listen to the command of I, the thunder dragon Wang Lin, condense. Wang Lin raised his head and let out a roar. In an instant, An incomparably large ancient thunder dragon appeared behind Wang Lin. Under the thunder dragon's eyes revealed the will to defy the heavens, and it roared towards the sky. Bolts of thunder suddenly appeared in the sky and gathered towards the ball of thunder in Wang Lin's right hand. From afar, the area around Wang Lin was covered in thunder. It was as if he was in a pool of thunder, with countless silver snakes of thunder swimming around. What was even more shocking was that the moment Wang Lin controlled the thunder of the heavens and earth, countless bolts of thunder from the divine retribution clouds were sucked down and gathered towards his right hand. At this moment, it was as if Wang Lin was fighting against the heavens for thunder. He was fighting against the heavens for the right to exercise thunder. As the endless thunder gathered, a large amount of the thunder from the divine retribution clouds was sucked down. The roar from the divine retribution clouds echoed, and the thunder that was sucked down immediately stopped and retreated as if it was going to return to the divine retribution clouds. Tao of the heavens, divine retribution. Even if there is a Tao of the heavens, if the heavens want to destroy me, then I will destroy the heavens. I, Wang Lin, don't believe in the Tao of the heavens, and I don't believe in divine retribution. This so-called Tao of the heavens is just a self-sealing Tao, and this so-called divine retribution is also a self-sealing divine retribution. Seeing the thunder slowly being sucked into the divine retribution clouds, Wang Lin let out a roar and clenched his left hand. Fire of the heavens and earth, listen to the command of I, Rosefinch Wang Lin, condense. In an instant, a white flame appeared next to the thunder dragon behind Wang Lin. As it burned, it turned into a giant rosefinch. This rosefinch flapped its wings, and the voice of Rosefinch echoed through the sky. A sea of fire immediately filled the sky and gathered toward Wang Lin's left hand. At the same time, a large amount of thunder descended from the divine retribution clouds, and a large amount of heavenly fire descended. It formed a funnel that shot toward the fireball in Wang Lin's left hand. Not only was he going to fight against the heavens for thunder, but he was also going to fight against the heavens for fire. If any cultivator saw this, they would be shocked. At this moment, Wang Lin had the ball of lightning in his right hand and the fire in his left. While absorbing the power of the heavens and earth, he was also fighting against the power of the divine retribution clouds. The roar from within the divine retribution clouds became even clearer, and a blood-red mist began to spread out. This was the appearance of the fifth form of divine retribution. This was a blood divine retribution. The moment the blood mist appeared, Wang Lin looked up and shot out like an arrow. With the ball of lightning and the same size of the flame, he shot toward the divine retribution clouds. 15,000 feet, 40,000 feet, 30,000 feet, 10,000 feet. Wang Lin got closer and closer to the divine retribution clouds. As soon as he entered the 3,000-foot range, the blood mist began to fill the air. I've finished editing the second chapter, so there shouldn't be any typos. I'm writing the third chapter, but I'm still missing a few words. Ask for monthly votes. Chapter 1108. From afar, it looked as if Wang Lin had been devoured by the blood mist. The entire star system immediately quieted down. The mosquito beast anxiously flew over with its kin. It looked at the divine retribution cloud from time to time, but didn't dare to get too close. The power of divine retribution was not something it could withstand right now. Time slowly passed. Just as the mosquito was about to rush toward the tribulation cloud, a low roar suddenly echoed from the red mist below the tribulation cloud. As the red mist churned, thunder rumbled and a sea of fire burned. A red figure charged out from the red mist. It was Wang Lin. Wang Lin's face was pale, but his expression was ferocious and filled with killing intent. The moment he charged out from the red mist, he charged at the divine retribution cloud. In the blink of an eye, he crossed 10,000 feet and charged into the divine retribution cloud. The moment he entered the divine retribution clouds, Wang Lin immediately felt the might of the heavens and earth. He pushed his hands forward and thunder and fire intersected, creating a destructive force that could shake the heavens and earth. Thunderous rumbles suddenly rang out. As the lightning and fire collided, the boundless tribulation clouds rapidly shrank, and the thunderous rumbles continued to echo inside. The entire divine retribution clouds were filled with thunder and fire, forming a powerful shockwave. The divine retribution clouds shrank like crazy, and the roars from within shook the heavens and earth. In almost an instant, the divine retribution clouds began to collapse as if there was a pair of invisible hands constantly tearing at them. Wang Lin could clearly feel the tearing force inside the divine retribution clouds. He felt like his body was about to be torn apart and was about to retreat when his eyes narrowed. He was inside the divine retribution clouds and was surrounded by fog. However, Wang Lin saw that not far away, there was a 100-foot crack in the clouds. Thick fog continued to pour out from the crack, as if this crack was the source of divine retribution. After a moment of hesitation, Wang Lin stared at the rift and flew forward. In the blink of an eye, he was outside the rift. Strangely, he didn't feel any tearing sensation. This strange phenomenon made Wang Lin even more cautious. Gritting his teeth, Wang Lin quickly sent a sliver of his divine sense into the crack. The moment his divine sense entered the crack, Wang Lin's body began to tremble violently. As soon as his divine sense entered the crack, he immediately saw a whole new world. The sky was blue, the sea was blue, and the immortal qi filled the air. The ground was so wide that one couldn't see the end of it. However, Wang Lin immediately saw a huge stone statue on the ground. This huge stone statue was an ancient god. The ancient god had 8 stars between his eyebrows, and 2 of them were sealed. He stood there motionlessly, as if he was really a dead object. However, Wang Lin could clearly feel the powerful vitality coming from the ancient god. If that was it, it wouldn't be enough to shock Wang Lin. However, what he saw wasn't just an ancient god, but at least 10 ancient god statues and nearly 100 ancient demon and ancient devil statues. On the head of one of the ancient demon statues sat a young man in a Taoist robe. He held a mirror in his hand and was constantly calculating with his fingers. The mouth of tribulation that Marshal Uncle Ma mentioned should be here. Just at this moment, the young man suddenly raised his head and let out a cry of surprise. His eyes were filled with ecstasy as he looked at the sky. He had clearly discovered Wang Lin's divine sense. His eyes flashed, and a streak of azure-black light shot out from his eyes, shooting straight into the sky. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to cut off the connection with that sliver of divine sense and charged out. Thunder and fire surrounded his body as he charged into the churning divine retribution clouds. He left the divine retribution clouds and charged toward the mosquito beast. As soon as he walked out of the clouds, his expression changed. He felt that his divine sense had been destroyed. He didn't hesitate and moved even faster. In the blink of an eye, he arrived next to the mosquito beasts. He waved his sleeves and sent the mosquito beasts into the spatial crack. He also took the yellow talisman from the mosquito beasts. He didn't stop at all. Wang Lin quickly stuck the yellow talisman on his body. A whirlwind suddenly appeared around his body, and his speed increased greatly. He turned into a ray of light and flew forward. Not long after Wang Lin left, the rumbles from the clouds became even more intense. In the end, the clouds continued to shrink until it looked like they had dissipated. However, if one took a closer look, they would be able to see that all of the tribulation clouds had not dissipated. Instead, they were continuously gathering together to form a streak of azure-black light. The moment this dark green light appeared, an aura that didn't belong to this world spread out. The division created by the divine retribution immediately disintegrated. I helped him dispel the remaining 4 powerful heavenly tribulations. So be it. I've finally escaped from that accursed place, so it's only right for me to help him. An excited voice rang out from within the azure and black light before disappearing in a flash. Just at this instant, On a very ordinary cultivation planet in the western part of the Alliance star system, there was an old man sitting on a prairie. He was wearing black and had a calm expression. It was as if nothing in the world could move him at all. If Wang Lin was here, he would immediately recognize this old man as the man in black who had stopped Shimizu from fighting the Yao family ancestor in the Luo Tian star system. His eyes were calm as he looked at the grass beside him. Under his gaze, the grass began to grow strangely. In the blink of an eye, it went from a bud to a withered yellow. However, it immediately reverted back to a bud, and this cycle continued. He raised his right hand to pick the grass, but at this instant his right hand trembled. He suddenly raised his head and revealed a look of disbelief. If Master Flames Park saw the expression of the old man in black, he would be shocked. This person he respected a lot had always been calm and had never had such an expression. The old man waved his sleeves, and his entire body became transparent and disappeared. No one knew what cultivation level he had or what spell he had used, but when he reappeared, he was at the place where Wang Lin had gone through the divine retribution. The distance he had crossed was simply too large. Even spatial bending couldn't cover it in one go. However, it was obvious that all of this was very casual for the old man. He frowned and looked around. His gaze finally fell on the void 1,000 feet away. This was where the dark green gas had appeared, a sliver of the aura of the ancient celestial realm. The old man pondered a bit and then left. As for Wang Lin, he quickly returned to the Four Divine Sect in the eastern part of the Alliance star system. Only then did he slow down a bit. The scene from before still appeared in his mind. The young man in the Taoist robe had given him a great impact. Who is he? There was dread in Wang Lin's eyes. He looked back at the dark space behind him and took a step. Ripples echoed, and his figure disappeared. When he reappeared, he was outside the Rosefinch Divine Sect. He didn't enter the burning starfield, but chose an abandoned planet. Wang Lin entered the planet and chose a mountain to sit on. Once he sat down, he exhaled deeply. The more he thought about it, the more shocked he became. After a long while, he suppressed his emotions and grabbed at the air with his right hand. Immediately, a crack appeared before him, and with a wave of his right hand, the origin soul of the purple-robed old man appeared in his hand. Without hesitation, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and entered the head of the origin soul. A large amount of memory fragments were extracted by him. Wind Celestial Realm, Cloud Sea Star System. Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly. He pondered for a moment, and then there was a flash of joy. Cloud Sea Star System. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin searched the origin soul's memory once more to find the path to the Cloud Sea. Half an incense stick of time later, Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense and smiled. The structure of the Cloud Sea Star System is very different from the Luo Tian star system and the Alliance star system. It is very suitable for me. Also, the Wind Celestial Realm is filled with mosquito beasts. I didn't expect the Cloud Sea Star System to have the weakest spatial barrier. I only need a special formation and a guide to pass through. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he looked at the origin soul in his hand. He carefully sealed it and put it back into his storage space. This origin soul can be used as a guide with the celestial spell senior brother Shimizu taught me. Now I'm only missing the formation. Fortunately, the materials required for the formation aren't too difficult to find. I just need to study it thoroughly before I can set it up. If everything I prepared for Toa Sin doesn't work, then the Cloud Sea will be my last choice. Wang Lin pondered a bit before standing up and taking a deep breath. He looked toward the direction of the Rosefinch Divine Sect and muttered, "Now I can only wait for the old Divine Emperor's reign, Celestial Crystal." Luotan, Corp Sect, Alliance Star System, all of you guessed that I, Wang Lin, sent out the Jade for a purpose. I'm afraid you all thought I was going to fish in troubled waters. In truth, you all only guessed half of it. My other goal is to lure all of you to the land of the ancient god. I don't have the energy to mess up my Four Divine Sects plan to save the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor. I wonder how many of you can see through my plan. Wang Lin revealed a hint of pride as he charged toward the Rosefinch Divine Sect. He was going to see Wang Wei and Hu Wan, as well as ancient Devil Tajia, who was sealed by the blood of the holy treasure. At this moment, at the center of the Alliance star system, something shocking was happening in the Cultivation Alliance headquarters. Even the formation outside trembled violently, as if it was going to collapse. At the same time, deep within the burning star system of the Rosefinch Divine Sect, the old Divine Emperor suddenly opened his eyes. However, his eyes immediately exploded into blood. "Wang Lin, quickly come see me. Quickly." 3 days and 3 nights, it was all over. There would be at least 3 more explosions before the end of the month. Chapter 1109. The moment the old Divine Emperor's divine sense spread out, Wang Lin, who was about to enter the burning starfield, trembled. He suddenly raised his head, and his expression immediately changed. As the Rosefinch Divine Emperor, and both cultivated the 9 mysterious transformations, he naturally had a unique method to communicate with the old Divine Emperor. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to charge into the burning starfield with the help of the speed talisman. He was too fast. The moment he entered the burning starfield, he took a step forward and disappeared without a trace using spatial bending. In an instant, ripples appeared 100 feet away from the old Divine Emperor, and Wang Lin walked out. He immediately saw the old Divine Emperor's bloody eyes. Death aura spread out from the old Divine Emperor's body. Without even needing his divine sense to sense it, Wang Lin could feel that death was trying to take away the old Divine Emperor's existence. "Senior." Wang Lin's eyes were filled with sadness as he stepped forward and stood on the stone. He opened his mouth to say something, but this scene made it so that he couldn't say a word. The old Divine Emperor raised his head. His eyes that were bleeding black blood seemed to contain a hint of light. "Your senior brother Shimizu is indeed at the Cultivation Alliance headquarters. He is directly related to the opening of the formation a few years ago. He didn't die, but he went crazy. The Cultivation Alliance headquarters has been hiding a heaven-shaking secret for countless years. When Master Xian Zhongzi and company first went to the Rain Celestial Realm, not only did they obtain most of the inheritances, they also found some mysterious things. They have been studying them for countless years. I fear not even the brilliant Void Realm knows of this. These mysterious things are too important and can even affect the 4 celestial realms. Wang Lin, quickly go save the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor, and then immediately send this jade to the brilliant Void Realm. This matter is too shocking. Your cultivation level isn't high enough, so don't get involved." The old Divine Emperor was on the verge of death. After saying so much in one breath, he couldn't help but gasp for breath. However, he still struggled to lift his right hand and touch his forehead. Immediately, his nascent divinity appeared and floated out of his body. It looked deeply at Wang Lin with a kind expression. "Wang Lin, take care of yourself. The old man can't help you anymore." As he spoke, his nascent soul immediately emitted a gentle light. However, the gentle light instantly turned into a blinding light that pierced through the surroundings. In the blink of an eye, the light reached its pinnacle. Wang Lin's vision blurred, and when his vision cleared, he saw the Saint Emperor's nascent divinity transform into glittering light that gradually faded away. As it faded away, the Saint Emperor's nascent divinity revealed a look of melancholy. At the place where it disappeared, 2 items appeared, a red jade slip and a crystal the size of an infant's fist. There was pure immortal energy swirling around the crystal, and it slowly spread out. Wang Lin was silent, and the grief in his eyes deepened. He stared at the place where the Saint Emperor's nascent divinity had disappeared. After a long time, he let out a long sigh and looked at the Saint Emperor's body. After losing his nascent divinity, the body immediately ignited into flames, transforming into a burning stone statue. The statue still retained the Saint Emperor's appearance and movements when he was alive. His right hand remained motionless on his forehead the entire time. Wang Lin took a few steps back and knelt down on the stone. He kowtowed 3 times toward the statue of the Saint Emperor. Wang Lin had never kowtowed to the heavens or knelt to the earth, But the Saint Emperor of Rosefinch deserved to receive 3 kowtows from Wang Lin. The moment the Saint Emperor died, all the elders of the Rosefinch holy sect felt a deep sorrow in their hearts. They silently flew off the planet and knelt toward the Saint Emperor's body, tears streaming down their faces. Respectfully sending off the Saint Emperor, have a good journey. May the Saint Emperor's spirit in heaven protect my Rosefinch holy sect. Not only them, but all the members of the Rosefinch holy sect felt the sorrow that filled the world. They knew that the Saint Emperor was gone. They all knelt down, and tears flowed down their faces. Respectfully sending off the Saint Emperor. Voices that came from the bottom of their hearts gradually came from the cultivation planets, becoming louder and louder. Even the statues of Rosefinch on the main planets of the Rosefinch holy sect let out mournful cries. An illusion of Rosefinch that was old and tired flew out from the statue of the Saint Emperor. It flew farther and farther away until it disappeared into the void. After the white tiger Saint Emperor died in battle, the black tortoise Saint Emperor betrayed him, and the azure dragon Saint Emperor disappeared. The old vermilion bird Saint Emperor, who had led the 4 divine sect through the crisis and survived for tens of thousands of years, passed away. At this moment, the elders of the azure dragon divine sect, the white tiger divine sect, and the black tortoise divine sect all felt something. They silently looked toward the direction of the Rosefinch holy sect and knelt down. The members of the 3 sects also knelt down. An aura of sorrow shrouded the eastern region of the Alliance. The glory of the past had gone with the wind. There was no regret in the pursuit of the past. The current Song Tian remained in the sad past, forever, in the hearts of all the clan members. After the death of the old Rosefinch holy emperor, the Luo Tian gathered all the cultivators in the Alliance star system, under the leadership of Master Flames Park and Company, as well as the people from the Luo Tian's only cultivation family. They all closed in on Suzaku. The palaces of the Thunder Celestial Temple moved with them. They surrounded the cultivators and gave off bursts of pressure. Not only them, but almost all the serene forces moved towards Suzaku. Coffins followed the serene disciples through the long procession. From a distance, it looked like they were driving coffins. The actions of these 2 forces immediately attracted the attention of the other forces in the Alliance. Combined with the information they had obtained from the Jade, the various forces of the Alliance sent out their people after a secret discussion. At this instant, the entire Alliance star system was in chaos. A dark aura before a storm gradually spread out. On the other hand, in the eastern region of the Alliance star system, a portion of the elders of the 4 divine sect led their family members towards Suzaku to cover up the true actions of the 4 divine sect. The moment the various forces arrived at Suzaku, a total of 35 Nirvana Shatterer elders from the other 3 sects gathered in the Rosefinch holy sect. They all sat in a formation and waited with serious expressions. They formed a circle, and beneath each of them was the image of a spell formation. In the middle of the 35 people was a circular spell formation about 3 meters in diameter. At the moment, the spell formation was empty. At this moment, the formation was empty, but 35 branches spread out and connected to the formation below the 35 elders. Around these 35 people were a large amount of 4 divine sect members. There were no less than tens of thousands of them. They were all sitting cross-legged. There were also formations below them that were connected to the 35 elders' formations. These clansmen were waiting for the order. As long as the order was given, they would release the Yuan Qi in their bodies without a care and pour it into the formation beneath them, activating the formation. At this moment, Wang Lin was slowly moving forward. It didn't take long for a ring-shaped sea of fire to appear in the burning star system before him. Suligwa's angry roar would occasionally come from within. Wang Lin stopped outside the firestorm and let out a roar. Suligwa. After he spoke, Suligwa's voice immediately paused. At the same time, the firestorm before Wang Lin was pushed to the side, revealing a huge gap. This gap went through the inside and outside of the firestorm. Through the gap, one could clearly see Su Ligwa's sorry figure. After hearing Wang Lin's voice, Su Ligwa was startled for a moment and subconsciously revealed a flattering expression. However, he immediately suppressed it and was replaced with anger. "You damn fiend. You finally thought of your grandpa, Sue. This old man isn't finished with you today." Su Ligua had faced countless life and death crises over the years, and he had to comprehend the ancient sword intent. His cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds, and even ordinary Nirvana scryer cultivators dared to fight him. Filled with anger, he charged out and turned into a giant sword that was dozens of feet long. It looked exactly like a celestial sword, and it gave off a faint aura of riches. As he charged out, the firestorm before him was pushed back, allowing the giant sword Su Ligua had turned into to charge out. In the blink of an eye, he closed in on Wang Lin. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He didn't even look at the giant sword as he waved his right hand. Endless origin energy gathered before Wang Lin and charged at the giant sword. A thunderous rumble echoed, and the giant sword collapsed. Su Ligua retreated in terror, but he was unwilling. He let out a roar and turned into 9 giant swords. They formed a sword formation and a monstrous sword intent shot toward Wang Lin once more. Wang Lin nodded slightly. Right now, Su Ligua's appearance met his requirements. Wang Lin walked into the sword formation and casually reached out with his right hand. He immediately grabbed the blade of one of the giant swords. He mercilessly squeezed, and popping sounds echoed. The other 8 giant swords all collapsed, but the sword intent didn't dissipate. They turned into 8 giant skulls that attempted to devour Wang Lin. Interesting. Thunder flashed in Wang Lin's right eye, and endless thunder appeared around him. The thunder swept the area like thousands of silver snakes. The 8 skulls immediately let out miserable screams and exploded. Holding the giant sword in his hand, Wang Lin exerted force. Crackling sounds came from the giant sword, and Su Ligua's panicked voice came from within. "Master! Master! Su Ligua is wrong. I didn't do it on purpose. It's just that I haven't seen him for so many years. Tall, mighty, handsome, confident, intelligent, brave, extraordinary, unparalleled, one of a kind, 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 one of a kind. Wang Lin couldn't help but be startled when he heard this. This caused Su Ligua to once again feel the approach of death. Wang Lin's right hand was like the heavenly Tao that could harvest his life. With just a little more force, his soul hidden within the sword would be crushed. Chapter 11:10. Shut up. Wang Lin frowned. Su Ligua immediately stopped talking, but the sword began to tremble. He thought to himself, it's over, it's over. I must have lost my mind and dared to attack this fiend. Su Ligua, you are such a wise demon. How could you be so impulsive? This refinement will come to an end. Let's see your future performance. If you dare to be so rebellious again, I will directly erase your sword spirit. Wang Lin's voice was cold, but to Su Ligua, it was like a spring breeze. Su Ligua immediately calmed down and quickly said, Master, you are really handsome. Without waiting for him to finish, Wang Lin waved his right hand and put the big sword into the storage space beside him. He did not want to listen to Su Ligua's increasingly exaggerated flattery. After putting away Su Ligua, Wang Lin took a step to the side and immediately disappeared. On a cultivation planet in a Rosefinch holy sect, Tashan was still sitting cross-legged. There were a few pieces of animal skin beside him. He was using his blood and the power of the runes in his body to draw. While he was drawing, Tashan's right hand shook. When he raised his head, Wang Lin appeared before him and calmly looked at him. Master, Tashan was silent for a moment and bitterly said. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and looked into the distance. After a long time, he calmly said, You have already regained your consciousness. There's no need to call me master. Ta Shan's face became even more bitter. He softly said, "Back then, it was master who allowed me to survive until now. I will never forget this kindness." Wang Lin let out a long sigh. He looked at Ta Shan and said, "When are we leaving?" Ta Shan's body trembled. He raised his head to look at Wang Lin. After a moment of silence, he bitterly smiled and said, "How did master know? Ever since you came here, you've been crafting talismans. If it weren't for the fact that you already had a plan in mind, you wouldn't have done this." After so many years, this was the first time Wang Lin met with Ta Shan. Looking at this immortal guard, Wang Lin felt complicated in his heart. Ta Shan nodded and said in a low voice, "I want to go to the Luo Tian to see my clansmen. Master, these charms are for my own use. I also made 3 for you. They are for speed, collapse, and seal." As he spoke, he took out 3 pieces of animal skin, stood up, and respectfully handed them over to Wang Lin. These 3 talismans were made from the rarest beast skins, and the amount of effort he put into them was several times more than that of ordinary talismans. Wang Lin looked at Ta Shan, took the 3 beast skin talismans, and softly said, "The Alliance Star system is very chaotic right now. Be careful." Ta Shan looked at Wang Lin and nodded. "If you see the disciple I accepted back then on planet Qingling, take care of him for me." Wang Lin gave Ta Shan another profound look before turning to leave. It wasn't until Wang Lin left that Ta Shan silently knelt on the ground and kowtowed in the direction Wang Lin left. His face was filled with determination as he put away all the beast skins. He let out a deep breath and flew into the stars. This time, Situ Nan was going to the Rain Celestial Realm to save the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor. After all, the poison in his body hadn't been completely forced out yet. Without the antidote, it would be a problem. Without Wang Lin looking for him, Situ Nan arrived at where the 35 elders of the 4 divine sect were. He stood behind one of the elders. That elder was the one who had helped Situ Nan expel the poison in his body over the years. Situ Nan sat there with a serious expression, but he had made up his mind. If he could cure the poison this time, he would drag Wang Lin with him to planet Fengwan for revenge. The pain he, Situ Nan, had suffered over the years would be paid back 10 times, 100 times more on the bodies of the female cultivators on planet Fengwan. Within the territory of the Rosefinch Divine Sect, there were some abandoned planets that were not suitable for cultivators to live on. These planets were filled with poisonous gas, and when burned by fire, the poisonous gas was extremely powerful. At this moment, the place where Wang Lin appeared was one of these abandoned planets. There were no plants on this planet, and almost all life had been cut off. There was only a black desert that gave off intense heat. When he stepped on the black desert, he could feel traces of poisonous gas enter the heat wave and slowly spread toward him. This black desert was not a flat plain. Instead, it was filled with undulating mountain peaks, and there were even mountain streams. Before Wang Lin was a mountain stream. Looking down from above, it was completely dark. The only thing that could be seen was the heat wave that caused Wang Lin's white hair to flutter. Wang Lin greets seniors, the celestial cloud couple. Wang Lin's voice was clear as he clasped his hands. The moment he spoke, a ray of sword energy flew out from the mountain stream toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin revealed a smile. He didn't retreat and instead looked over with sparkling eyes. The sword energy closed in and turned into a person. This person was middle-aged and handsome, but his face was pale. He looked at Wang Lin with a smile. "Wang Lin, the 2 seniors already know you are here. Follow me." This man was Zhou Yi. There was no need to explain the relationship between the 2. After a smile, Wang Lin entered the mountain stream and went straight down. The mountain stream was very deep, and the heat wave hit his face. Wang Lin naturally didn't care and looked at Zhou Yi. Zhou Yi's expression was calm as he softly said, "I wasn't used to this place at the beginning, but it's fine now. Wang Lin, I heard you came here to save the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor?" Zhou Yi hesitated for a bit before asking. Wang Lin shook his head. He looked at Zhou Yi with a respectful expression and said, "Aside from saving the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor, there is also the matter of Celestial Emperor Qinglin. Only by awakening Qing Lin will Qing Shuang's celestial lord have a chance to revive. After Zhou Yi heard this, his eyes were filled with excitement. He looked at Wang Lin and gratefully said, "Thank you." Wang Lin's expression was a bit complicated as he silently shook his head. Zhou Yi was startled, but then he thought of something and his expression became gloomy. As Wang Lin descended, he softly said, "You and I are very similar. However, I have you to help me, while you have no one to help you. Big Brother Zhou is useless and can't help you." Wang Lin silently pondered and didn't speak. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the bottom of the mountain stream. They saw that someone had used a powerful spell to reverse the situation. This place was separated from the high temperature and poisonous gas, creating a scene of paradise. There was a small river flowing to an unknown place. Not far from the river were a few wooden houses, and there was a patch of grass on the ground. There were also a few blooming flowers decorating the grass. Wang Wei sat cross-legged by the river, smiling as he looked at his lover, Huan, who was on the other side of the river. Huan was like a child, her feet swaying in the river, occasionally stirring up waves. Junior Wang Lin greets two seniors. After Wang Lin and Zhou Yi split open the barrier that blocked the high temperature, Wang Lin stood on the side and respectfully clasped his hands. Wang Wei looked at Wang Lin and smiled. "Tell me why you wanted me to sneak attack Li Yunzi, or else I won't let you off so easily." On the other side, Huan faintly smiled. She played with her hair and said, "Wang Lin takes this matter to heart. He always feels that sneak attacking a junior is very shameful." Wang Lin revealed a smile. He knew that after experiencing the battle in the demon spirit land, Wang Wei and Huan had become very close to him and no longer considered him an outsider. Wang Wei probably didn't care much about the sneak attack. After hearing this, Wang Lin gave a brief explanation. After Wang Wei heard this, he no longer asked about it. Back in the demon spirit land, Junior heard Celestial Emperor Qing Lin mention three things: the Rain Celestial Realm's Temple, Origin Soul Crystal, and Qing Shuang's blood. Junior has the last two, but the Rain Celestial Realm's Temple. Wang Lin paused and looked at Wang Wei. Wang Wei's expression became serious, and he nodded. "In these past few years, I have recalled that the Rain Celestial Realm had a temple. That was where Teacher became an emperor. I told you about this before, so for you to come here, could it be?" Wang Wei looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin silently pondered and let out a sigh. He told them about how the old divine emperor had obtained the Rain Celestial Realm's Rain Celestial Realm. Even Huan stopped playing in the water and took off her shoes to stand beside Wang Wei. The two of them looked at each other, and Wang Wei said, "The two of us will remember the Rosefinch Divine Emperor's kindness. If the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor is really in the Rain Celestial Realm, the two of us can help rescue him. This could be considered repaying the Rosefinch Divine Emperor for obtaining the Rain Celestial Realm's Rain Celestial Realm." Wang Lin nodded. Wang Wei and Huan packed up a bit and then left with Wang Lin along with Zhou. As for Qing Lin's body, it was stored with Wang Wei. On the main planet of the Rosefinch Divine Sect, everyone was silently waiting. Just at this moment, 4 rays of light closed in and turned into Wang Lin, Wang Wei, and company. Wang Lin didn't stop and directly stepped into the center of the formation. He sat down in the lotus position, opened his eyes, and shouted, "Open the formation." As he spoke, his right hand reached out and a rift appeared before him. A crystal surrounded by celestial spiritual energy floated out. At the same time, the tens of thousands of 4 divine sect disciples all closed their eyes, and their cultivation surged into the formation below them. Immediately, rays of light began to flash within the formation. When the light reached a certain degree, it followed the connection of the formation and gathered at the formation below the 35 elders. Shortly after, the formation below the 35 elders also lit up. They all formed seals at the same time, and their cultivation surged like crazy. The origin energy of the surrounding tens of thousands of disciples split into 35 parts and rushed toward Wang Lin and the crystal. In an instant, the crystal gave off a powerful burst of light, and an unimaginable amount of celestial spiritual energy came from it. It turned into a pillar of light that shot into the sky, creating ripples that spread in all directions. There was a thunderous rumble in the sky, and the gate to the rain, celestial realm, slowly opened above the main planet of the Rosefinch divine sect. At this instant, almost all the cultivators in the Alliance star system that had reached a certain cultivation level felt the fluctuations in space. Those who were familiar with it could tell that the rain celestial realm had opened. At the same time, the rain celestial cauldrons naturally appeared in every corner of the Alliance star system. However, Luo, Tian, Serene, and the other forces of the Alliance were all focused on Suzuka. Although they were shocked by the rain celestial realm's sudden opening, they had no time to spare. If we go to the rain celestial realm with our cultivation levels, it will destabilize the rain celestial realm and cause it to collapse on a large scale. We must quickly rescue the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor. Wang Lin left behind these words as he turned into a ray of light and charged toward the rain celestial realm's gate. Behind him, the 35 Nirvana Shatterer elders flew out. Situ Nan, Wang Wei, Huan, and company followed. There was one person that even Wang Lin didn't have time to notice. That person turned into a ray of silver light and charged into the rain celestial realm. This person was the silver-robed female corpse. At the same time, on a remote, abandoned planet in the northern part of the Alliance star system, the Earth suddenly trembled and split in the shape of a cross. A white-haired old man floated out from the crack. His white hair covered his face, making it impossible to see his appearance. There was a flash of light before him, and a rain cauldron appeared. Wang Lin, you can't escape the old man's plan. At this moment, a gust of wind blew by and caused the old man's messy hair to flutter, revealing his appearance. It was Tian Yunzi. Exciting start. Please get monthly votes. Chapter 11:11. Early in the morning, the sun shone brightly and brightly, dispelling the darkness. The early risers gradually made Floating Cloud City bustling with noise. Shops opened one after another, especially the food street on the west side of the city. The sound of yelling could be heard everywhere. The youtiao that was picked up from the boiling hot oil, the white bread that was revealed from the pots and steamers, as well as snacks like tofu pudding, caused this street to be bustling with noise every morning. Zhang Shuishan's stall sold wine. Although it was early in the morning, the Zheng family's wine was light and refreshing. Drinking it early in the morning would make one feel refreshed instead of intoxicated, so it was quite popular. Zhang Shuishan, who was in his 50s, sat to the side with a tobacco pipe in his hand. His wrinkled face revealed a smile as he watched his assistants busy themselves. A middle-aged man who had just bought a jug of wine shook the jug in his hand and took a big gulp. He smiled at old man Zheng and said, "Uncle Zheng, your wine doesn't taste as good as before. Is it lacking in ingredients?" Old man Zheng glared at him and took a puff from his tobacco pipe. He snorted and said, "Nonsense, my Zheng family's wine." Before old man Zheng could finish, the middle-aged man smiled and said, "Your Zheng family's wine has been passed down from generation to generation for thousands of years. It is said that in the earliest days, it was even tasted and praised by an immortal. Uncle Zheng, you have to say these words almost every day." "Fine, I still have to go to work, so I won't listen to you anymore." The middle-aged man took the wine and left with a smile. What does this little brat know? My Zheng family's wine was indeed tasted by an immortal for more than 60 years, more than 1,000 years ago. Old man Zheng took a puff from his tobacco pipe and muttered to himself. His family still had a few wooden carvings that had more than 1,000 years of history. The carvings depicted the Zheng family's first ancestor in Floating Cloud City and an immortal with a blurry face. There is a legend passed down from generation to generation in the Zheng family. According to the legend, the Zheng family wasn't originally from Floating Cloud City, but had migrated here during a snowstorm. The legend also said that the Zheng family's ancestor had lived with that immortal for more than 60 years and was the benefactor of the Zheng family. Our ancestor, Dainiu, lived to 137 years old. Before he passed away, he still couldn't forget that immortal. This matter has been passed down from generation to generation. How could it be fake? Narrowing his eyes, Old Man Zung tapped his tobacco pipe on the ground and looked up at the sky with pride. But soon, he rubbed his eyes and carefully looked at the sky. Gradually, his mouth opened wide. The sky was originally clear and sunny, but in the blink of an eye, huge ripples that could be seen with the naked eye swept out in all directions like waves. The rumbling of thunder reverberated through the air, instantly silencing the noisy street. Everyone raised their heads to look at the sky, panic in their eyes. Soon after, as the ripples continued to spread in all directions, many long arcs suddenly appeared in the sky and rapidly descended like shooting stars. Bows easily broke through the layer of astral winds in the sky to transform into cultivators. Immortal, celestials. The mortals on the ground all exclaimed and began to tremble. Some of them quickly hid in their houses and didn't dare to come out. Don't disturb these mortals. Quickly gather at the sea of devils. A majestic voice echoed like thunder. At the same time, the cultivators that descended didn't stop and quickly flew off into the distance. At the same time, the same scene appeared in almost every corner of the sky above Shizuku. The shocking change in the sky caused the mortal kingdoms to panic. They all stared at the sky dumbfoundedly, their bodies trembling, and they didn't know what to do. Fortunately, these immortals that descended from the sky did not harm the mortals. Instead, they immediately left as soon as they appeared. The native cultivators of the Shizuku also noticed this, but none of them dared to fly up to question them. Not even those at the soul formation or soul transformation stage dared to do so. Any one of the foreign cultivators flying through the sky possessed a cultivation base so profound that it could cause one's heart to tremble. Not to mention, there were quite a number of them who could cause one's mind to collapse with just a glance. Even the few ascendant cultivators on planet Shizuku stared at the sky with shock in their hearts. Zhou Wutai's expression was gloomy. Only a few of the rays of light in the sky could be resisted by him. Just the aura of the majority of them made him suck in a breath of cold air. Fortunately, although these cultivators came from many different forces, none of them paid any attention to the native cultivators of the Shizuku. Instead, they charged toward the Sea of Devils at an extremely fast speed. The entire sky seemed to be covered by the densely packed rainbows. A moment later, gigantic shadows slowly appeared in the sky. The sun in the distance was also covered by a gigantic shadow. Gradually, the land was plunged into half-darkness. Those shadows were the palaces of the Thunder Celestial Temple. They didn't descend on the Shizuku, but surrounded the space around the Shizuku. After all, the Shizuku was already half abandoned and couldn't withstand the fluctuations of the Thunder Celestial Temple's descent. Shortly after these shadows appeared, coffins descended from the sky. There were large and small coffins, and they were surrounded by a large amount of cultivators. Along the way to the Sea of Devils, there were naturally cultivators that saw a giant statue on the ground. This statue belonged to the Cloud Sky sect. An arrogant Luo Tian cultivator saw such a giant statue on a small cultivation planet. After taking a closer look, he found that the statue looked familiar. He didn't think too much and let out a cold snort. As he passed by, he was about to destroy the statue. However, just as his right hand was about to fall, a feminine voice came from behind him. "Stop!" The cultivator was startled. He turned around and said, "Shi Zifeng, what is the meaning of this?" The woman who spoke was Shi Zifeng. She coldly looked at the arrogant cultivator and calmly said, "Look carefully at the statue and see who it is." With that, she no longer paid any attention to the cultivator and looked at the statue with a complicated expression. She let out a sigh in her heart and left. The arrogant cultivator frowned and looked at the statue. The more he looked at it, the more familiar it looked. A moment later, it was as if a bolt of lightning had flashed through his mind. His eyes widened, he gasped, and he exclaimed, "This is Thunder Celestial Sumu." Although the Luo Tian had removed Wang Lin's right to become the Thunder Celestial, Wang Lin's battle to become the Thunder Celestial was very famous. It was not something that could be forgotten in just a few hundred years. The arrogant cultivator felt his scalp go numb. He knew that Su Mu's Taoist title was the Demon Taoist, and he possessed monstrous slaughter. He was far from someone he could afford to offend. Moreover, Su Mu's act of destroying a statue was a bit too sinister and senseless. So, he didn't say a single word before turning around and dashing away. Master Flames Park and company also recognized the statue, as well as people from the Serene sect. After the order was passed down, no one had any thoughts of destroying the statue. Serene, Luo Tian, and the various cultivation alliances all gathered at Shizuku. They all rushed toward the Sea of Devils after obtaining the information they needed. The Shizuku wasn't big, so they quickly charged into the Sea of Devils as the cultivators teleported. In truth, there weren't many cultivators from the various sects that entered the Shizuku sect. In total, there were less than 7,000 people. They were the first group to investigate. After all, although the jade Wang Lin gave them was very reliable, they still needed to verify it. Even more cultivators filled the area around Shizuku. They were clearly separated as they waited for the first group of people to bring back the news. All the restrictions to enter the land of the ancient god were useless in the eyes of the first group of cultivators. They were like a hot knife through butter as they approached the land of the ancient god. However, just as these cultivators charged through the restrictions outside the Shattered Star Ring and arrived at the entrance of the land of the ancient god, shrill roars immediately came from the entrance of the oval circle of light. The entrance was the first checkpoint to enter the land of the ancient god. In the seemingly endless, pitch-black abyss, there were originally many cone-shaped boulders floating. However, at this moment, these boulders suddenly collapsed one by one. In the pitch-black abyss below, pairs of ferocious eyes suddenly flashed. This was the place where Wang Lin almost died and where the Thunder Frog first appeared. At this moment, an unknown amount of fierce beasts had gathered and were quietly waiting. Roars came from the entrance to the land of the ancient god in the Sea of Devils. This caused all of the surrounding cultivators to pause, but it didn't make them stop. One by one, the cultivators charged into the light. In the endless abyss, the moment the first cultivator appeared, a ray of red light shot out from the dark abyss. Just as the cultivator was about to move, a powerful crimson electric current shot out from the abyss and landed on the cultivator in the blink of an eye. This person's body trembled and went numb for a moment. However, just at this moment, the red light closed in. It was a giant red python that devoured the cultivator. This action was like a signal to start a massacre. Roars suddenly rang out, and ferocious beasts charged out of the abyss in a frenzy. They began a battle of life and death with the cultivators that entered the abyss one after another. At this moment, blood rained down from the abyss, causing the fierce beasts to become even more ferocious. As more and more cultivators charged in, the fluctuations of origin energy caused by the slaughter gradually alerted a sleeping existence deep within the abyss, a place that not even Wang Lin had explored before. Two blood-red eyes seemed to be able to penetrate the distance and stare at the group of cultivators in the distance. At the same time, in the blood sea within the land of the ancient god, the red-haired Ta Sen's fingers gently slid on the ground, emitting an ear-piercing sound. He slowly raised his head, and a cruel smile appeared on his ferocious face. He slowly raised his right hand and fiercely clawed at the ground beside him. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.